Hey, it's Shaves, and welcome to another stream of our expedition of the Anime Encyclopedia. Let's go. Yeah, here we are. Let me know if the audio sounds decent. Thinking like that. Thinking that sounds okay. Welcome, Poochie McDog. Welcome, Geek Air. Good to see you guys. We'll wait a couple minutes until like 6 o'clock, at least 6 o'clock my time. Then we'll get started on my findings. I did the comparison last night of, like, you know, seeing what was worded differently and what little changes they made, which takes a lot of time. And then today I did the actual reading, like reading all of it, recording what I thought were spoilers, some weird choices, of course. You might notice the order of business here is a little different. I decided, because based on the couple of streams, I've been like, it's been usually like, you know, changes, and then if not changes, we'll probably talk about we'll read through the articles that they have in the third edition. So that'll probably be for next week's stream to kind of pad that out. Opinions is a major section. Odd choices, I think, has become really an interesting section and a lot of point of interest in, especially this reading. Oh man, there's a lot. So I haven't watched the context link fully, so I'm not going to completely get the premise here. I had to check out the stream anyway. Sounds good. Thank you for the sound. Yeah, so we're quick TLDR with this is that we're reading the Anime Encyclopedia. This is the first edition from 2001, and there was a third edition that came out in 2015. And my curiosity really was like, what did they change between the first and third edition? Which at the moment, as of reading right now, we've read the whole A section and we did the B section. Not a lot. They didn't really change a whole lot. But also what we went through, but, you know, and generally just kind of talking about the Anime Encyclopedia, kind of a big point of contention about this when you see the thing order of business opinions. It's an encyclopedia where a lot of the entries have the author's opinions about these anime, which is kind of a weird choice. And we're trying to see the ramifications of that and kind of the things, you know, it's a kind of an infamous book, and I've had discussions actually the other day, it just kind of came up, and people are just completely dismissive or outright antagonistic about this book, understandably so. I get that, but I want to like kind of treat it like as a historical relic. This was the first time a lot of anime have ever been discussed in the English language. It's a pretty early source for a lot of these things. So I want to see what that's like. You know what I mean? If you don't mind that I mention you and Helen are as good otaku. I mean, if you mention to them, I guess, they'll be like, oh, you know, if he's going through the whole encyclopedia. If you describe this series to them, I don't know how they'll react. But, you know, my addressing to them, I'm not out to get them for this book at all. I'm really curious about it. I'm fascinated by it, and I want to meet them on their level. And also just like they speak about this book as a conversation. They want this to spark debate and discussion, and so I'm like, well, sure, great, let's talk about it. That's kind of where I'm at. Helen's the author, one of the authors. It's John Clements and Helen McCarthy. I finished all of Ikuhara's directorial works. Yeah, well, I like Yurikuma the most, actually. That order might actually be reversed for me. I'd probably I'd probably do Yurikuma, Penguin Drum. Well, I would do Utena movie, Yurikuma, Sarazan, my Penguin Drum, Utena. Probably. Interestingly. Yeah. Anyway. So about 6 o'clock now. Let's get to the findings. Doo. Let me just pull this up. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, here are the changes that I've found in the third edition that are different from the first edition. Again, it's very minor stuff. There's a couple major revisions which are interesting to look at, but for the most part, there's not a ton of changes in the grand scheme of things so far. Yeah, like you list all of them, and it seems like a lot, but compared to how much info is here, you know. So Babel Nisei, there's a new sentence about the 2001 remake. That's fair. A lot of things have that. Bad Boys, they added a compared to GTO line. Let me. It is just like compared to GTO basically. Bad Boy. Yeah. Let me just look at the third edition for a sec. It's literally just like so. A pattern that they do, at the risk of sounding like a broken record for a lot of this, of course, this will be the case with probably a lot of these streams. So I understand if people, aren't as I don't know. A kind of common theme with the book is that they really want people to poke around in it as much as possible, and so they want to name drop a lot of anime so that people will be like, oh, what's that? And they move to a different one. And so the eye kind of goes throughout the book. They're not necessarily expecting people to go completely chronologically page by page with this, which is fair. It's understandable for an encyclopedia, but it does lead to a lot of interesting choices and kind of a lot of shoehorning, a lot of, I don't know, there's consequences to that. Not that this is, not like the Bad Boys thing is a bad thing, like it's not a poor comparison in this instance, but it is interesting that they're like, okay, we have to put something here because the only point of reference we put in Bad Boys is referencing that it's in the same genre as Bomber Bikers of Shonen, Shonen Bakuzoku. Like, that's the only title they mention. So they're like, okay, let's just reference GTO in this sort of thing. Although there's a couple, there's at least one not misdirection, but just sort of like a weird thing they did. Given this theme, given what they do here, it's interesting that they there's something they do later on with Ape Escape, which is kind of weird. A drink at a con I attend. Yeah. Strange that an encyclopedia brings in the author's opinions and management. SAO's Wikipedia page just said it sucked. Yeah. Okay. Baghi, major revision to the synopsis. Really made it's sort of like they just kind of tweak it a bit more to it doesn't fully substantial. It's not a substantial enough difference where it's like, oh, I should read this out. Although Baghi, I had never heard of Baghi before. Let me pull Mal up for a sec. Ooh, I have that up. Just a sec. Hold on, let me pull this to. Okay. This is what it's called, but it's not showing up. It's not showing up very well on Mal here. I don't know why these anime are showing up for this show Baghi. It's a Tezuka thing. It's a Tezuka manga. This is so annoying. For manga, maybe? It doesn't even show up. What the fuck is it called then? Is there an alternate for... There's no alternate. It's Baghi. Is this story... It's this OVA from 1984. Fucking A. Oh, I don't know. How do I look this shit up now? So much for that. It's just... Okay, it was directed by Tezuka, I guess. Kimiharu Ono? For people. Tezuka. Okay, Daijizan no Majo Baghi. It's this. Okay. So there's just a kind of a revised synopsis to this. I don't really know how different it I don't know anything about Baghi specifically, although they do mention in this, they really do like ahead. They after they describe Baghi, they're like ahead of his time as usual. Tezuka wrote this tale of genetic experimentation on animals for shonen action. The lead character named in homage to Bagheera, as portrayed in Disney's version of Kipling's Jungle Book. Although the synopsis has been reordered for clarity's sake, the film is told chiefly in blah 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 blah. This is the kind of interesting thing. The anthropomorphic appeal of cat women would become an anime staple, from Cackerel Nuku Nuku to Escaflowne's kittenish Meryl. So they're just thinking, like, they're just crediting Tezuka for inventing cat girls. Cool. And then it's like it's even referenced in the first Pokemon movie, which featured a similar Frankenstein creation escaping from an Amazon stronghold. Like, yeah, okay. So that's like interesting, and it's like it's stuff like this where if you read the whole encyclopedia, you'll learn some interesting things. I certainly wouldn't have looked twice at that OVA otherwise. It is certainly interesting in that regard. That Baghi, sorry Roger, yeah, thank you. I didn't look at the chat the whole time. I was just like, oh, where is it? Yeah, sorry about that. Tezuka actually has a bio written. That's cool. Tomy doesn't even have that. Well, he doesn't have a bio in the first edition. They do have bios in the third edition with Tezuka, and there is a Tomino bio. I think I'm pretty sure. I would assume so. I haven't read it. I haven't read their Tezuka blurb either. The thing is, McCarthy is a Tezuka scholar. Like, she has written a whole book on Tezuka. It's very likely that any Tezuka entry is probably written by her, and there's a very high regard for Tezuka. There's a note that I have here of kind of a trending theme. I obviously have to get more evidence for this to back a lot of these major claims up, but like something I noticed. These are the 4 major things I noticed from this reading. It's very interesting. But one of the things is just that there seems to be very unbridled praise for creators, specifically Tezuka and Miyazaki. It seems like there isn't anything that they made that isn't good, or that they're behind, that there's something that they're the main creator behind, and there's apathy to most other creators. There's a handful that they seem to really like, but then there's others where yeah, that one's good, but these other, I don't know. There's just something about the way that they handle a lot of particular creators that they're specifically passionate about. At least it seems that way to me. The anime is just Tezuka admitting he's a furry. Yeah. You could think of that cynically like that, for sure. I meant on that. The Tomino page is straight up blank. Oh. Rip. Okay, more changes. They did a respelling of Bakumatsu's Spaceybo to Spaceybo with an S. Okay. Barefoot Gen, there is a changed. They changed a blurb from one. There's only one anime about Nagasaki to like mentioning a few because they found a couple others. They mentioned O5's Angelus Bell. Like obviously O5 came out after the first edition. But there's a few, I guess. Well, that's interesting. That's pretty much it's the same though. Basara, they added a blurb about the 98 prologue, which is interesting. They could have mentioned that, but they didn't in the first edition. They cut Alita from Battle Angel. Alita. I think they put Battle Angel Alita in the. I have to clarity on that note. Sorry, I believe they did. Yeah, they did Battle Angel Alita in the first edition, and then they just called it Battle Angel in the third edition. Interestingly, Gatchaman, they added a blurb about dying Ninja phase. Yeah, okay. This is a weird blurb. I didn't put this in the weird section yet, but let me go find the Gatchaman article. It's obviously listed as Battle of the Planets, as they do in this encyclopedia, sometimes confusingly. Where is it? Battle of the Planets. Got it. They added this little paragraph in the middle of their like backstory synopsis. This is what they added. It was also the dying gasp of Japan's ninja fad, which began with historical and pseudo-historical fiction and became progressively more outlandish and fantastical throughout the 1960s. Ninja would be put to pasture for some years after this, before their 1980s resurgence. So is there a dry spell in the 1970s? Like, so the dying gasp of Japan's ninja fad, 1972 for Gatchaman. So does that mean that there really isn't much ninja anime in the 70s? It's an interesting observation, but it's also just like, it's the last dying gasp, and then it'll just be revised the next decade anyway. So there's just it's just one decade where they just, I don't know why they added that. They also, that's the thing, they added it for the third edition. Like, what spawned them to do that? It's not even that majorly revised. It's just that little one blurb. It's also the dying gasp. It'd be put to pasture for some years after this, before their 80s resurgence. And also, I never really considered Gatchaman to be much of a ninja thing anyway. Not that I've seen Gatchaman, of course. It just, I look at it and I don't see ninja anime, personally. Maybe, I guess, because I think it's because they throw shurikens, I guess. Or maybe they are ninja, and I'm just like, I'm just ignorant of it. And that's fair. That's just that was a strange thing for me. No. Baybrade to Bayblade. They, in the first edition, they call Bayblade Baybrade. And it isn't like just a, like one of the rules for my desktop, for full screen here, there's no scrutinizing of misspellings. But the weird thing about it is just that they call, in the 2001 edition, they say it is released in the US as Bayblade, which is the correct spelling. And they say in the encyclopedia that they are listing the title, the anime, based mostly on the English localization. Like we just went over, they have Gatchaman listed as Battle of the Planets. And this is so that the audience that they're assuming will read this book, they're going to look for Battle of the Planets. So they're going to put that as the focus. So they're going to put it, list it as that and not, right? So why list it as Baybrade and not Bayblade when that's the English, and you say in the encyclopedia that is the way it's released in English. Why were you insistent on calling it Baybrade? You just look really foolish in that way. Like, it's kind of a really obvious mistake. And it is a mistake because in the third edition, they revise the title to back to Bayblade, Beyblade. But then they don't. I don't know if they forgot or they just didn't. I don't know. They don't change. Beyblade in the actual entry in the third edition. It's still listed as Baybrade. It's only mentioned. It's only said the word Baybrade only shows up once in their actual description of it, their actual blurb. But it's still like they didn't revise it. They were just like, it seems like they were begrudgingly changing the title to Bayblade, right? But and then like their Romaji's incorrect too. Like it's like, wait, how did they make that mistake? Because you always want to try to find like, okay, where was their headspace at? They always have the Romaji listed underneath, and that's how you can kind of like if there's a Japanese equivalent, which is weird that in Baghi they didn't list the big subtitle that it has. What is it called? It's fucking I'm sorry. I have to keep doing that. Daishizen no Maju, right? Like what? Like it didn't list it as that in the actual Romaji section, but Baybrade is listed as Bakuten Shoot Baybrade, Baybrade, aka Flashpoint Shoot Baybrade. Why did they think it was the Romaji was Baybrade? the fucking, I looked at the fucking, if you look at the fucking logo, I hate to make such a big point about this, but it's just such a weird, like, it's just a weird omission. Baybrade. How do you confuse that for an A? B-A. That's B-E. B-E-A. B-E-I. B-E-I-B. Baybrado. Right? I don't want to be stickler about this sort of thing, because obviously it's going to take a lot of effort to do that for every entry. I'm not going to do that, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. But obviously it sticks out like a sore thumb here. So it's just like a weird... And like, yeah, I don't want to scrutinize the spellings too badly, because part of the reason for that is, again, I don't want to like blow this and just have to keep looking up every single thing. There's going to be so many, as you'll soon find out, there's going to be a lot of stuff that is probably wrong, but I will have no idea, and I will not report on it. I'm going to report, report. Obviously, I want to have a culmination of all my findings, but it's just my findings. It's just the stuff that I'm aware of, that I know, that it will be way too much for it's not even that much. It's enough, in my opinion, to just like go based on my observations and like, wait, that's not right. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. They were actually ninja anime in the 70s. Manga Sarutobi Sasuke comes to mind, which I believe was late 70s. Okay, I figured that was like I could have, not like I'm a big expert in the 70s in the same way, but like that just seemed weird to me. Yeah. More of a superhero than a ninja show. Was Baybrade even localized here into the... Yes, it says in the encyclopedia, released in the U.S. as B-E-Y-B-L-A-D-E. They knew the English spelling. Why didn't they use it? They say they use that. That's why we have all this confusing shit with Battle of the Planets and fucking all this other shit. Like I guarantee you, Space Battleship Yamato is listed as Star Blazers in this 2001 encyclopedia. And then it's like, if you're going to go out of your way to do that, why are you doing right? Why did you make that choice? Because obviously because they actually did it for the 3rd edition. Star Blazers. Yep. I don't get it. And again, it's not like I'm anti-localization or something. I'm not trying to be out like that. It's just like there's clear, like this is obviously kind of a confusing choice for anime fans for you to do this. But if you're gonna do it, go all the way. And obviously it's just such an embarrassing Baybrade. It's Beyblade. It's even so up. It's kind of just makes common sense. You know what I mean? I hate to be just such a stickler on that, but like, I just couldn't believe it. I can understand why they may have gone with Bay, but the braid is kind of weird. No, exactly. That's not even like B-A-Y is also incorrect, but I'm more centered on the braid. Like, how do you do that? It's Baybrade. Do they have dreadlocks? Yeah. I don't get it. Sorry if I was so on that. They also added a blurb. I don't think I put that here. Obviously they future installments. There is that too. Beast City. There's a new blurb about how the first 2 episodes came out in English. Yeah. I'm thinking about Beast Warrior, sorry. Beast City there's a new blurb about how the first 2 episodes came out in English in the 3rd edition. I don't know. Beast Warrior, so KO Beast, the Gainax show, or at least Gainax is a part of it a little bit. There's a big blurb. Let me read the new paragraph that they have here for this for Beast Warriors. In the 1st edition, I kind of want to read this first. So, look at this. Although this is from the introduction of the 1st edition. Sorry, you can't really look, per se. For reasons of available space and emotion and editorial sanity, we have had to remove most references to voice actors and voice acting from this edition, tempting though it is to reveal that the authors provided the voices of Vidan and Akumako in Beast Warriors. We couldn't afford this space or the embarrassment. And then you have the 3rd edition. I don't know if this was added in the 2nd edition, maybe, but you have in the 3rd edition, which has tons of new entries and way less space. They decided to put this blurb in saying, "It is chiefly remembered today." Chiefly remembered? First of all? Really? How audacious of you. It is chiefly remembered today as the unexpected and unremarkable voice acting debut of Jonathan Clements and Helen McCarthy, who played the arrogant, deluded minion V-Don. I could have sworn they spelled that differently in the fucking... No, they didn't. V-Dan and his sidekick Akumako, an irritating devil girl with a high-pitched voice. One wonders, where are they now? When rights lapsed in the... And this makes sense, because they're talking about... They had this thing in the first edition where Beast Warriors was only... It's like, oh, it's so bad. We only dubbed the first 3 episodes. And then they just like, well, okay, Right Stuff did get the rights, and they dubbed all 7 episodes, not merely the first 3, with an all-new cast. Okay. But they had to include themselves, and it's chiefly remembered as their debut as voice actors. Huh? a little strange to me. Yeah. But big blurb about how they're in the dub. Beat Shot. They added a dig at Playboy. Blurb further digging in it. Yeah. So Beat Shot. Let me find Beat Shot. I just want to read this one. Yeah. A heady mix of sex and golf in this adaptation of a manga from Monthly Playboy. No relation to the US magazine. And here's the addition. Although the publishers would very much like to imply there is. I don't know where that's from. I don't know where they're getting that. Maybe they got published the first edition, they got some email or something, and they're just kind of sticking it to them like, no, there's no relation to the US magazine. I don't know. Creator, yeah. And then they added this blurb. Director Akimoto tries for some class with grainy, sepia-tinted opening shots of old world golfers, but before long it's back to exactly what one might expect from 1980s erotica. The alternative title, prevalent in many online listings, is from an illegal bootleg edition, and not sanctioned by anyone. Ever. The alternate prevalent in many online listings. What's the alternate? What? Okay, apparently the alternate title for Beat Shot is Watch Me Sink My Putts. It's funny, I guess. The alternative title, prevalent in many online listings, is from an illegal bootleg edition. Why did you list it as an AKA? Like, you're so anti-piracy, but why did you then, like, platform an illegal thing by just, like, mentioning it? Because I'm sure, like, plenty of other anime have a similar bootleg title. Like, of course, that's a common occurrence, but why did you then platform and, like, give and like, mention it? And not sanctioned by anyone, ever. Like a little dig at piracy or something. Further digging piracy, I think. Digging. I just kind of skimmed it. I didn't even read that part. I'm reading all of it as much as I can, but like a lot of those editions kind of slipped through the cracks. So is Macross listed under Robotech? Well, I don't think so, because the thing with Robotech was that it was combined of 3 different shows. So I imagine they mention it, of course. Like, it's probably all about Robotech. Because another fixation of the encyclopedia that I've started to notice is that a lot of the focus is on U.S. distribution, and less so the creation itself. Like, got the Battle of the Planets, for example. It's a big article. It's a big section, but it's almost entirely about the U.S. distribution and how it flopped to multiple parties. But then they don't really talk. I guess they talk a little bit about the creation of it or the origins. I don't know, but not really though. Not as nearly as much as the U.S. distribution. Yeah, I don't know. I watched that whole OVA with Rags, and we did not know Clements and McCarthy were in it until there's these dreams. I thought it was fun. Yes, KOB seems interesting, but like, who cares? And also, they probably redubbed it, so I'm at least hoping that the original dub is preserved, because that is interesting. I like that. It is interesting that they're in that dub. Let me find Macross real quick. I've seen Macross listed as Macross in the encyclopedia before. Yeah, Macross is in here. Oh my god, it's a huge article. Holy crap. That's a lot. Probably because they're talking a lot about Robotech. We'll see, though. We'll get there when we get to M in like a year. Bit arrogant, huh? Yeah. No. Beat Shot, yeah. Moved Bebop High School and B-Boy above Beast City. There was just something about the order. I at first thought they missed Bebop High School and B-Boy from the first to the third, but no, they were in the first edition. They were just like reordered or something. I don't know. It was weird. Um, Belle and Sebastian. There's a blurb about the 73 live action series that's new. Okay. There's a lot of notes about that which are interesting. Berserk. We'll get to Berserk. I'll save Berserk. Is Robotech listed separately? I doubt it. I very much doubt it. They've talked earlier about how like, oh, this is an anime or something. So they seem at least kind of like hard about that. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a Robotech article. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, there's a whole it's a big article too. That's insane. Wow. All right. Interesting. All I know about Battle of the Planets is that 4Kids level of censorship. Yeah, they described that. They describe a lot of that stuff, and they added a lot of footage too. It's like new footage. It's like, oh my gosh, this sounds incredible. It's interesting, and I'm happy it's listed here. I'm not saying don't talk about this Western stuff, but it's sort of like, wait, what? Just makes it interesting. Okay, Berserk we'll get to, but they completely revised the synopsis. Pretty much completely. They cut a line about the Dreamcast game because there's a rumored Dreamcast game, but we couldn't confirm it in the time of publication. That's completely gone in the 3rd edition. And there's a whole new paragraph on the movies in the 3rd edition, of course, because the movie trilogy came out at that time. Huge big paragraph about that. Big Wars, they changed the date. See, here's the thing, right? Little details. They do a little. It's specific details like this that are like, okay, yes, they definitely re-looked at every single bit and were like, okay, correct that. Or, no, that's fine, leave it as is. Which makes what didn't get changed very interesting. Because it's like, you really got no feedback on that, or you ignored feedback on that and you let that slide. Like, you're going to keep that, but you're going to change the date. Oh, it was actually 2376, not 2416. Like a little relatively insignificant detail like that. They're going to change, tweak that. They also changed the synopsis partially. There's just like a slight difference, Bikurimon. They reformed the ending sentence to include future installments. They're just talking about the future stuff. It's like, oh, there was also this other stuff that happened since 2001. Birdy the Mighty, there's a new blurb talking about Decode, of course. That came out in 2008. And then finally, Blackjack, there's an added paragraph talking about future installments. They also cut a line about a tree in the sun, which was weird. I kind of wanted to look up Tree in the Sun. Of course, there's the Encyclopedia again, because I didn't think to. Sorry. Tree in the Sun. A tree in the sun. I thought they said it's also a Tezuka thing, so I would have assumed I would have seen it here. Tree in the sun. Okay, Hidamari no Ki. Right. I don't know. Like, it was kind of weird. They mentioned this anime, which to my knowledge doesn't have anything to do with Tezuka, with Blackjack, in their first edition, where they're like, oh, it's also kind of like it's not even okay. There's one thing to be like, compare to this. It's, all the time they talk about Urusei Yatsura or Tenji Muyo or Ranma 1/2, or they name drop all these other, like, compare to this, linking all these things. But in this instance, there doesn't seem to be any reason they mention this. They don't say compare to. Blackjack continued as a straight-to-video anime after the movie with Green Memories, The Fate of Affliction, and Sinking Woman, though these episodes have yet to be released in English. A Tree in the Sun, a very different kind of Tezuka medical drama, was also animated in 2000. Why mention that? I know, and also, Tree in the Sun is a separate article. It's not like they're, like, sticking that in there, because they ran out of room and they're not going to mention it either. I don't know why they mentioned it here. It's a very different kind of Tezuka medical drama. Was also animated in 2000. It doesn't even say compare to this. I guess that's technically what they're trying to mean. I'm just being nitpicky, but still, it's like, that was just bizarre. It just kind of made me squint my eyes. Already 37 minutes in. That makes sense. We were only talking about the changes. Of course there is. Golion ought to have a really interesting article too, considering the Western release has clips from another anime altogether for some reason. Maybe they mentioned that. I don't doubt that they do, because they seem pretty knowledgeable about that sort of stuff. Don't get your hopes up about a new Gatchaman footage. Saw a clip on YouTube. It's Hanna-Barbera tier. Of course it is. Tom's House, especially since Golion flopped in Japan. Birdy the Mighty OVAs is better than the TV series. The TV is also still good though. Yeah, you'll get to their opinion about Birdy. I'm watching literally every mecha anime after Gundam, and I can totally see why it flopped. It was pretty bad. Oh well. Read the description. Tezuka is listed. Yeah, okay. No, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure he's Tezuka or whatever. It's just more like, what did that have to do with Blackjack? What's poppin', Cozy? How are you doing? So I haven't read these articles yet, but in the comparison of the looking through the first and the third edition, there are some new added entries that could have been in the 2001 version but were not. That would be BTX from 1996, Baby Love from 97, Balatak from 1977, Apache Akugan, let's fucking go. It's obviously called Baseball Apache or something like Baseball Club Apache or whatever. But let's fucking go. That's one I've actually seen. That's doesn't even have subtitles or anything. Can't wait for that article. Battle Team Lakers EX from 96, Beyond from 98, Beaten the Robo Boy from 1976, and Black Bento from 1990. There doesn't seem to be much of a rhyme or reason to these yet, but I do think the more we get of these new entries, I do want to look more into them on my own time and find why perhaps they could have missed them. I think it would be interesting. Haven't hit a Mazinger yet. Excited to hit the first post-Gundam series of it. Only like Voltron because they didn't get the good stuff like Mazinger. Yeah. Alright. Now we're moving on to opinions. So this reading, there were 20 new articles that had opinions. These ratios are not fixed yet. I have to go back and physically count by hand all the entries there are in the A and B section. I think it's I don't know. I have to retool some of these numbers, but I did retool these. All the numbers in here are now definitely accurate because I went ahead. The dashes are entries from the first edition, and the asterisks are ones from the third edition, just the third edition. So we have there's 4 new positive entries, these 4. So there's a total of 15 positive articles and 19 in just the third one. And then now there's a total of, so right now we have in the first edition a ratio of 15, 20, 22. The mixed one is sort of like very, very subjective, but it's sort of in the middle. Like I can't really tell if they didn't like it or liked it, or they're just trying to be balanced or something. And then in the third edition, there's 19, 12 versus 21. And then total is, all right. So there's 4 new positive ones. Bats and Terry, they call it Feel Good. Although this was, I think all 5, this one, a couple of these, but these are very slim pickings. There's no whole praise for these. This was a kind of negative session. Like, they were not kind to a lot of these. But Bats and Terry, they say it's Feel Good, but, like, it's sort of read sort of like, that's just the genre. Like, it's, like, you can tell that from the fucking poster, and it's not so much of an opinion so much. Or their opinion, per se. Let me see it. Bats and Terry. This feel-good crime caper was shown as a double with the Dirty Pair movie Project Eden. Which makes it very interesting, actually. I really wanted to check this out. I think I've seen it before. Not seen it as in seen the anime, but seen it around on Mal or whatever. Bats and Terry. There we go, Batsu and Terry. I think I've seen this before. Around. I don't even know if it's subbed. Whew! Very, very rare. But is it? I really want to see it because the fact that it was a double feature with Project Eden makes it very interesting to me. Yeah, I've seen this poster on because there was a period of time where I was going through all the raw anime, like how many anime don't have subtitles. It was a whole process, and this was definitely one of the anime I found that didn't have subs, because there was a lot of movies and a lot of baseball anime in general that don't have subs. Crazy, actually, how many don't have it. So I wanted to. That was interesting, I thought. Quite a while before I get there. I'm only on 82 so far. Yeah. So that was interesting. I really wanted to check that out. Battle Can. They said it was surprisingly ahead of its time. I wanted to look that up too, although I think it's probably a hentai or something. Let me just put it back to that. Let me just check this out first. Because they said it was a sci-fi porno. Yeah, I don't want to risk it. It's not too bad, but in terms of a cover, but whatever. Also, this fucking it's it's hentai, but like it's rated 4.42 on Mal. Oof. They were surprisingly ahead of its time though, so that's nice. Let me change it to something else. Bebop High School. It made the anime infinitely preferable to the live-action movie. Again, but that seems like a backhanded compliment. It's like it sounds like the live-action movie was really bad that they apparently saw or something. That they just said it was really bad. But they're like, oh, because of the goofy hijinks, it makes the anime more preferable. But that's kind of all they say about it. But I'm like, yeah, that's positive enough, I guess. And then Big O, they don't really seem to have that much to say. They were just like comparing it to Metropolis and all and drawing a lot of references to different things, like a lot. But the one thing I caught them on was impressive Art Deco architecture. I'm like, there's a compliment. Okay, I'll give it a positive. I'll consider yourself a positive, sure. Interesting. Yeah. Is Garzy's wing even that low? It probably is. Let me find Garzy's. And they do, I did sometime, 4.15. Little below, but it is below. Also, only 14,000 people on Mal? That's surprising. That's really surprising, actually. For how many people know about this OVA? Only 14,000 people on Mal have it marked? It's kind of surprising to me. Most people rate it 10s nowadays because it's so bad it's good. I guess. Yeah, imagine Kaiser. Yeah, so we'll go into the negatives. There are 7 new negative reviews. Balthus, they said, was frantically rushed. It was a frantically rushed erotic pastiche. Pointless. Let me just get the context for pointless. Balthus. Am I right? Is it Balthus? No, yeah. Oh yeah, this is the one. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to talk about Balthus later, but with a fraction. Yeah. Okay. More from the people who brought you Legend of Lion in a frantically rushed erotic pastiche of the same year's Castle in the Sky, but with a fraction of the budget, talent, or commitment. I don't even know if Balthus Tia's Radiance has anything to do with fucking Castle in the Sky. Besides, it's not even the same. Wait a minute. Huh? Wait. They list Balthus Tia's Revenge as coming out in 1988. And I could have sworn Laputa came out in 86. In a frantically rushed erotic of the same year's Castle in the Sky. Did they just get fucking Castle in the Sky wrong? The date for Castle in the Sky? I mean, Mal isn't really the source for it. Let me just look up fucking Tia's Balthus. I hope this isn't fucking porn. It might be. Okay, that's fine. Let me, Balthus' Revenge, Tia's Radiance. Not very well liked, but it came out in May 25th, 1988. At least according to Mao, which, you know, not the best source or anything like that. But they are saying it's 88. But wait a minute. Do they have Castle in the Sky listed as 88 in their encyclopedia? Because it's one thing to be, you know, but it's a whole other thing to contradict your own writing. Like, literally your own book. Castle in the Sky. 86! They listed as 86! And Balthus is 88! It's not the same year! What the fuck? What the fuck? Dude! Hypocrisy. Look, I get it. The encyclopedia being a mess. The encyclopedia is a mess. Look, man, I get it. It's really hard to do this sort of thing. It's very not an enviable position to be in. But Castle in the Sky. And also just using that to dig on fucking this OVA. It's like, okay, geez, who cares? But Balthus only in anime. I'll get to that. Where is it? Only in anime. Not the same year as Laputa. Oh, but I'll remember that. If not, I have the VOD. The VOD of me reacting to this. Like, wait, what do you mean? Yeah, wait, where's the pointless? Okay, it also features a pointless musical interlude from an off-key vocalist when it badly needs the time for matters of greater importance, such as plot, or indeed, a little more sex. Sprinkled with sly references to great science fiction, including, not like they emphasize great, but like, obviously, they're putting great other science. They could just add 2 other science fiction, but they're going to have great science fiction, including Morlock, Klaatu, and a plot that only crashes Metropolis into a porno film. Only in anime. Oop! Only in anime. Let me just get to that right now. I feel like that has such contempt for anime as a medium. Personally, I get it. You're watching through all of these. First of all, you don't have to. Watch all of this shit. Second, and I get it, like the existence of it, but you could say the same thing about literally any other medium. Just because there's shit in it doesn't mean you just be like, oh, anime, am I right, guys? I'm not going to paint them as Orientalist or anything, but it does, the only an anime thing does kind of lean into this idea of it being exotic, kind of they're just wacky and doing their own thing. When, like, my perspective about it is that it's all a byproduct of this really great appeal to anime. Specifically, that's not in it. The reason we're so focused on it is because they do anything they want. There's no boundaries. There's complete creative expression, and willing to take, despite the, you know, toys or the cynical reasons people make anime to make money or whatever, they still make anything they want, and there's a whole range of stuff. You can rip off things, like whatever, you know. You can be as cynical as you want about it, but like the notion only in anime, I don't really buy it. I don't really like that. It's not why I'm going to it specifically. Not directly. Like, yes, only in anime there's a bunch of wacky things happen, but you're missing the forest for the trees, which is that, like, it's such a wide, interesting, anything can happen sort of medium. That's something to be celebrated and not something to mock or ridicule. But only in anime, right? It's an attitude I don't like to subscribe to. And yeah, it's probably the one mention in this obscure mention of this obscure OVA. Maybe it doesn't show up again. Maybe it will. Or maybe the attitude does. I just feel like there's kind of a contempt going on. This book makes my head hurt. Some of their writing reminds me of Bennett the Sage videos, and not in a good way. Yeah! Isn't it interesting? I wonder where he gets it from. Perhaps. I don't know. Maybe or, you know, I think there could be a larger thing going on. I was talking to Ref, it's a Twitter mutual. He was talking about this mentioning of Clements and stuff and anime scholars, and I was thinking about how like, well, a lot of he mentioned like this New York Times article about a particular about Demon Slayer, that was just like really dismissive and like really bad, and I'm like, that sort of dismissal and pressure has been something that we've had to fight for decades. And these guys who were kind of considered the old guard, like Clements and McCarthy, who were there in the 90s at the rise working at Manga UK and trying to get this really cool stuff that they considered really, really cool onto more people's TVs and like get more people exposed to it, which I always champion, is something that I want to do. That fight is really admirable. But what sort of mentality drives a person to do that under those odds and those circumstances? It's someone either really stubborn, kind of like a little messed up, they kind of have to like, we're gonna make it work, we're gonna make it work, that draw. It's interesting. It's not wholly great, it's like, oh, I wish there wasn't, or woe is us, or it still worked. Disney Plus is now fucking licensing anime. I don't know, I just, ends justify the means kind of type of thing. I don't know, some interesting food for thought to think about. Only in anime is how I describe what I love about the medium, not to mock bad shows. Yes. Well said. No. Anyway, Battle Angel, they did not like, of course. Not particularly original. Boys in the... Right. Yeah. So, Battle Angel... No, I'm sorry, Battle Athletes... Oh, no, Battle Angel! No, like Battle Angel Alita. I'm sorry, not Battle Athletes. Battle Angel. Battle Angel Alita. They don't like it. Let me read this article. Let me read their blurb on it. This is after the synopsis, which seems fine. I haven't seen Alita myself, but it seems okay. This short-lived spin-off from Yukito Kishihiro's 1991 Business Jump manga never explains what life on Salem is really like, why Ito was thrown out, or who the amnesiac Alita was before she was scrapped. The scene is set for a couple of fight scenes and some mawkish flirting between Yugo and Alita before the innocents of the story realize that the corrupt adults have been stringing them along, and it all ends in tears. Highly regarded in the early 1990s by an anime audience punch-drunk on Fist of the North Star. What does that mean? Punch-drunk on Fist of the North? Like, I get the play on words because he's like, wow, he punches. But, like, are you trying to say that, like, they love hyperviolence because of Fist of the North Star and they open their fucking minds and, like, holy shit, and they're just craving for it? Punch-drunk. But also punch-drunk is implying that, like, they're not in the right headspace or they're brain damaged, right? Isn't that what Punch Drunk is? Ashina Joe's my favorite anime. I mean, Punch Drunk I think is supposed to be a form of brain damage, right? Are you trying to say they got brain damage from Fist of the North? And I get with the Fist of the North Star, the heads explode, blah blah. But like, you're explaining why people like Alita because they got brain damage from Fist of the North Star? Is that basically what you're saying? Isn't that kind of what you're saying? I get it's a play on words and it's not really supposed to mean that. I might just be blowing it out of proportion, but that seems like that to me, personally. I'm sorry, I have such this grin on my face. It's just sort of like, oh boy, yikes. Alita wasn't particularly original. It takes little to substitute drugs for cybernetics and the scrap heap for an LA ghetto before you have Boys in the Hood. Sure. I haven't seen Boys in the Hood, but like, yeah, that sounds totally logical. Just swap the setting for Los Angeles and swap cybernetics for drugs, and it's just Boys in the Hood. Is that true? Are you making a joke? Is this supposed to be funny? What are you talking about? Oh. A post-Holocaust world where one has to buy social betterment was covered more interestingly in Gray Digital Target. I've never heard of it. Where Earth is... I'm not even trying to advocate for Alita or something because I haven't even seen it. But it's clearly like way more influential and popular and like more people know about it. is better in this obscure OVA. Gray digital target. Whereas Earth as a celestial race's garbage dump was first suggested in Shinichi Hoshi's 1970s story, Hey, Come On Out. I don't even know what that is, first of all. But second of all, who cares? This is like the fucking... Like, they obviously leaned into this, and I've leaned into this. I'm not going to say that I haven't. I think it's an addicting quality. First meaning better. It did it first, therefore it gets all the credit. And the thing that it's taking from gets none of the credit. Or negative credit, because it took from that thing. You know? That doesn't seem right to me. That seems like what they're doing here. Earth as a celestial race's garbage dump was first suggested. Like, implying that it's better. Who cares? Initially inspired by Microman toys, Alita herself began life as an illustration around when Kishihiro had to work up a story in a hurry, elements of which survive in the anime's fuzzy plotting. She doesn't know much about her past because, at this stage in the story's history, her creator wasn't that sure himself. Like, maybe if he actually mentions that in in the fucking sorry, I haven't read chat in so long, I'm sorry. I didn't like Demon Slayer much, but I don't like New York Times was dismissive about it. What did they say? I don't know, I haven't read it. But I do remember hearing about it, that they just said some dumb shit. Alita's pretty good. Boys in the Hood makes sense. Someone hates Fist of the North Star. Or just has contempt for Fist of the North Star. Lol, I'm just thinking of Clements and McCarthy shoving Alita fans into lockers. Sorry if that was a little loud on my mic. I'm noticing the bar. That's funny. Punch drunk? What the fuck? That Fist of the North Star brand of brain damage. What does that even mean? Does these people just ignore Fist's entire plot? It's not just some guy punching people for no reason? Maybe. Losing it right now. Nice, we found the title of this video. Leo Ballinger, the Boys in the Hood of anime. Oh no. I haven't done that for the other VODs. Thank you for reminding me. I have to nickname them particular things. Battle Angel 2, Boys in the Hood. It's weird that people think this is this in a medium like anime. I know. I don't get it. Where was I going? Sorry about that. Yeah, her creator wasn't that sure of himself. That's so annoying. It's like saying, like, oh, Miura doesn't know how to end a story. Oh, Oda doesn't know what... We don't know what One Piece is because at this point, Oda hasn't thought of it yet. Right? That's kind of what it sounds like to me. It's just kind of contempt for the author. Unless he explicitly says it. Had to work up a story in a hurry. Like, maybe he wasn't sure himself, but obviously he thought of it at some point. You know, I don't know. I just, like, what does that have to do with anything? Again, it's just further just like, it's not very good, guys. Watch Armitage the Third instead. Director Fukutomi does the best he can here with the limited budget. But there simply isn't the time to do the story justice. And one amazing image of a paradisial city hovering above a disgusting junkyard does not a successful series make. Cool. Like, wow. I just don't like that kind of writing. Viewers, I don't want to elaborate. I'm just elaborating way too much on this. It's already been a freaking hour, and I'm not even close to... I haven't gotten to Berserk yet. Viewers can take solace, however, in a high amount of immortal dialogue, including, how long am I going to have to wait for any new spine? How long am I going to have to wait for my new spine? Viewers can take solace, however, in a high amount of immortal dialogue, including... How am I going to have to wait for my new spine? I'm sorry if I read that 3 times, but, like, does that make any sense? What is that? Is that supposed to be funny? Is that it's a kind of a random piece of diet. It's not even that, like, scathing. It's just sort of like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. Weird. Battle athletes, passionless and cynical execution. Antiquated pep talks and cliches from classics like Aim for the Ace. Like, they dare use Aim for the Ace when in this book they don't seem to have read it or watched it or even, like, say how important it is. right? They don't really mention it in the first edition. We talked about this previously. I'm not going to repeat myself, of course. You know, they give all the credit to Attack Number 1, which, fine, fair. It is the first female sports anime, and it's pretty significant for being how long running it is and setting a lot of precedent for a mean coach and all these other things. Sure. Again, just because it's the first doesn't mean it's the most, doesn't mean it's the best, or like the one we should pay the most attention to. Give all the credit in the world, but you know, the spine quote is a plot element. Why do they hate that line? I don't know. That's true. The staff had like 2 episodes to work with. What'd they expect? Or it's just yeah, I don't know. They don't even like Ace. They don't have a negative. They don't seem to have a negative thing for Aim for the Ace. They just don't. They don't sound like they've seen it. When you read their article, it doesn't sound like they've seen it. That's all. But it's so weird that they're just like, the characters laugh at their own jokes and intone antiquated pep talks and cliches from classic shows like Aim for the Ace. But like, first of all, why not say Attack Number 1? I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, they didn't like that one. Battle Team Lakers EX barely has time because it's fucking, I don't know, 30 minutes. Where is it? Battle Team Lakers EX. They have it listed as 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute OVA. And they're like, it doesn't have the time to set up, set up or payoff. What is it? They barely have enough time to. They have a lot to say about this one, actually. Even to the extent of posing as just one episode in a long-running saga, Lakers EX barely has time for a setup and showdown. Not quite hitting the ludicrous highs of Venus 5, though the voice acting is superior to many other erotic anime dubs. Again, not anti-dub or anything, but to show you, there's a lot of focus on dubs here. The careful duplication of hack genre conventions. Ironically leaves little time for the sex. Yeah. Okay. Sounds negative to me. Not like I gotcha or anything, but I'm just, taking notes. Beast City, vampire lore is taken with a grain of salt. Like, they literally like CinemaSins this fucking thing. They're like, that's not how vampires work. Though its premise is distantly related to Vampire Hunter D, because it has vampires in it. Or is it because it's sci-fi? Does this sound like Vampire Hunter D to you guys? Tokyo is held for ransom by the demonic beasts that stalk its streets. Born into a family of vampires, Mina has vowed to destroy all of the creatures with her beast hunter sword. Sex and violence galore as Mina and her bisexual vampire associates from Draculon get their daily fix by having... It's a hentai. And they say penis. All without waking him up. Then they go looking for a fight, get knocked about for a bit, and kill some demons. Though its premise is distantly related to Vampire Hunter D, it doesn't. It doesn't sound like Vampire Hunter D at all. And they're only mentioning it because they need something to connect this article to. They have to mention fucking Adventure Kid, Cool Devices, and Melancholy Slave, and Midnight Panther. Like, okay. Beast City removes all the subtextual tension of vampire stories. A heroine named for Bram Stoker's original and a homeworld poached from Vampirella do little good when the rest of the vampire lore is taken with a pinch of salt. These creatures still fear crucifixes, but happily immerse themselves beneath running water in long shower scenes. I actually did not know that's apparently a vampire weakness, or they're not supposed to do that. Seems kind of obscure to me, personally. And also, these they're literally stretched all the time. Zombies are also stretched all the time. Who cares? I don't know. It's a weird gotcha for it. Not really. Right. The focus on dubs makes sense in 2001, but in a Rise 2015 edition, it makes no sense. That's because, how revised is it really? I don't think it's all that revised. Despite all of the, despite including an email in the first edition to be like, hey, give us revisions and If you have any revisions, let us know. And this is how many revisions they do? That's it? This is it? You're going to keep all this other shit? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? It's interesting. But yeah, it doesn't sound like Vampire Hunter D at all. Anyway, they didn't like that one either. Birdy the Mighty. They call it this disappointing series. That's kind of as much as they really. Oh, okay. Let me just read the whole thing. Birdy. Bird. Birdy. Okay. A sex swap farce a la Ranma 1/2. Of course. Of course. With a tip of the hat to Tezuka's mighty Astro Boy, because Birdy the Mighty, I guess. I haven't seen Birdy. How valid is that? How valid is it? Tetsuwan? Yeah, okay, it's Tetsuwan Birdy. So it's Tetsuwan Adam, Tetsuwan Birdy. Okay, fine. Birdy's true roots lie in the live-action Ultraman, with aliens defeated by low-budget gimmicks like dish soap, and a hapless Earthman forced to share his body with an invisible, controlling alien. That just makes Ultraman sound really dumb, doesn't it? Just saying. Not like you have to be positive about every goddamn anime or whatever, but like, you should have respect for all of it. Birdy straddles separate subplots as a vengeful bounty hunter, magical girlfriend, and confidant, contrasting with Tsutomu's spiteful real-life sister. Based on a short-lived manga from Patlabor's Masaki Yuki, this disappointing series features a dream team of anime creators, all working below par. So it has Chiaki Konaka writing it, Kawajiri directing it, and yeah, it's based on a manga by Patlabor's Masami Yuki. It's got music by Yuki Otani, which I have not heard of. Maybe I haven't heard him personally. Do they at least mention that Umetsu worked on cool devices? Honestly, that's the only thing I know about it. Yeah, well, let me see. Umetsu for what was I even looking for? Oh shit, Beast City. I'm not sure who you mean by Umetsu. Sorry. I'm not sure who you mean by Umetsu. Sorry. Birdy isn't anything like the Rama. What? Oh really? Oh no! Like they changed sex in the same body. It's just like Rama 1/2. Perfect. Yeah, they didn't like it. But these are outnumbered by the very genre conventions they lampoon. For example, the evil yet beautiful alien mastermind Revi, who wants to turn humans into bioweapons. Matters are not helped by a lead actor in the dub. This is weird. This is really weird. Matters are not helped by a lead actor in the dub who is forced to pitch his voice so high that, in the words of someone from the U.S. distributor, he sounds like Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh. Is that a joke? Is that supposed to be funny? Am I supposed to get that? Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh. I don't know what that is. Who cares? It's the dub. What? Anyway, they didn't like Birdy. Yeah. And also, they in the revised edition, they do mention decode. Let me disclose what they talk about Birdy the Mighty decode. It's not great. That's the reason I'm reading it. So you see that? Okay, that little gives away a little of my intentions, doesn't it? No, so it's more like if they did cool stuff, I would mention it. I've mentioned it in previous streams. It's just not. It's kind of few and far between at this point, as of this moment. Kazuki Akane directed a TV remake, Birdy the Mighty Decode, which ran for 25 episodes across 2 seasons and drew on Yuki's 2003 8 revisioning of his own manga, which ran in Young Magazine, a publication for older readers, and considerably fleshed out the story. Although this later version has greater depth, it also suffers a little from changes in animation style, being very much made with the flatter, colder materials of digital animation, as opposed to the video version's old-fashioned cell work. A little mask off there, isn't it? A little mask off. I have a little suspicion maybe they don't really like the digital stuff. But, they've also been fairly positive about a lot of recent anime, so I don't know why. It's kind of a weird thing. South Park equals anime, I give up. Oh, Mr. Hanky's from South Park. Oh, Kaite Mesoforte guy. Oh, that guy, yeah. I don't know. I mean, they don't like Kite. I already know they don't like Kite because they mentioned it in one of their articles about, I think it's Angel Cop? I don't remember. But they don't like Kite. Mr. Hanky's from South Park. You're telling me those were sold in bookstores? They were in schools, Mr. Grem. They were in school libraries. College and school libraries. It's anime. I give up. Then again, Fully Cooley did reference South Park. I don't care. Birdy OVA has much more personality. Not that sorry, Full Moon Man. It's irrelevant to me. I'm sorry. Not to be rude. Birdy OVA has much more personality than the TV show. Digital is bad. Too bad they're not making anime cells anymore. Sarcasm. Well, I kind of agree. I mean, I do prefer it ultimately, but don't go mask off. Don't just say that. You can have your personal preference, but especially as a criticism of Decode. Decode is not. I prefer. I don't know. Not something to really bemoan about. I guess they don't like WebGen animators. Birdy Decode was one of the first big WebGen shows carrying over from the WebGen work unknowing. They probably don't know. They probably don't know about that. Actually, maybe they do. They said colder materials of digital animation, and then they have a parentheses for their article on gaming and digital animation. So maybe they mention it there. Maybe. I doubt it. WebGen sounds like a new, personally. Oh man, the redesign were made so they can animate it more. Decode is a dream for soccer heads. They're not soccer heads. That's the thing. They're not. Yeah, they have a impartial relationship with soccer nerds. The redesigns were made so they can animate it more. Decode is Though personally, I much prefer the TV than the OVA. I'm a bit biased towards Kane. The Birdy OVA was nice, and I haven't seen Decode yet. Sometimes I feel like these people only like a handful of anime. Yeah, and they've seen a lot of it. That's the thing. They've seen a lot of it in order to make this thing. But my problem, I think, that we're running into here, that I'm noticing, I didn't write it as a common theme in the notes so far yet, but I'll probably do that right now. Let me go to trends. Give importance to proper credit knowing. Officers save anecdotes, spoil some anime, Tenjimuyo, unbridled praise for some creators, content, lots of focus on Western distribution, content for slice of life. We'll get to that. Oh my god. But this one, there's a thing with shit. What was I saying? Shit. Oh yes, they only really they mostly. Is my suspicion. Because who has the time? We would be old. Yes, but look what happens. Look what happens when all you do is movies and OVAs. There's a slight lean. So a lot of these movies and OVAs are kind of different, and they're not formative in the same way. So it colors their impression in the same way, in a different way. I remember liking it, though I haven't watched it in years. Which one? It's not Birdy OVA? Yeah. I haven't seen either. I'm looking forward to them, though. Didn't like it, though. They didn't like it. And Black Heaven. It's not happy with this one. It's like, I like this show. I like the show a good deal. I don't love it. I did rewatch it lately. But of course they have a problem with the fucking space not being utilized. Let me fucking read you this article. Typical. And there's something that they phrase here, the way that they phrase it really pisses me off. Sorry to preempt you like that, but like here you go. The space war. So if you don't know about Black Heaven, if you don't know the synopsis of this, let me read the synopsis in their words, so I don't color it in my way or whatever. Oji Tanaka, a henpecked middle-aged salaryman with a dull wife and a mewling infant. I guess dull is a way to put it. That's kind of rude. And a mewling infant, he's like 5. He talks. He speaks words. He's not an infant. Still thinks fondly of his teenage years when he was Gabriel Tanaka, lead guitarist with the hard rock group Black Heaven. He is contacted by a beautiful blonde agent, Layla Yuki, and hired to play his particular brand of music for use as a sonic weapon in an interstellar war. So it does this thing where, yeah, it basically he plays guitar and they use it to get in this war, and it doesn't really use the war pretty much at all. The space war is curiously underused, the script concentrating instead on Tanaka's hapless attempts to enlist his old band in his secret mission and his wife's attempts to discover whether he is having an affair with Layla. But with a focus on farce and everyday life, not unlike Nigel Neal's Kinvig, Black Heaven resembles a live-action production that cannot afford the special effects, rather than an anime that can go anywhere in the galaxy for a price of a pot of paint. Not happy with that description. I get the fucking alliteration, but you're being really irritable with that. Price of a pot of paint. Also with their fucking British accents. Ugh. It's like, why wasn't this live action? Why do you have to do slice of life? Where's the space battles? Because why is it focusing on the slice of life stuff where anime can go wherever it wants for the price of a pot of paint? It's sort of like, again, it's sort of the only an anime thing, but it's contorting it into something negative for me. It's because anime can do these sorts of slice of life things and decides to focus on whatever it wants, including slice of life stuff and the mundane and focusing. It's a character piece. It's a fucking character piece. They're not going to go into the fucking space, but it's not the point. Who cares? He doesn't even know it. It's from his perspective. So of course he's not going to give a shit. Or like he asks maybe a little bit about it and they give him whatever details, but like, of course they're not going to focus on that. It's a character piece. It's a slice of life. And like, well, it can go whatever it wants with anime with the price of a pot of paint. You're limiting it. You're limiting anime's reach and scope by saying that it should focus on the supernatural elements instead of the slice of life elements. Do you see how restricting that is? Where it's like, why isn't it doing this sort of... I could just watch this in live action. No. Then we wouldn't get Wind Rises. Then we wouldn't get like a lot of anime that are just focusing on the home life, right? That are character pieces, that are interesting. Because it's animation, it's engaging and interesting to look at, the art style. And yeah, this would be kind of difficult to do in live action because of the space battles. But yeah, obviously they fucking go like, Black Heaven has much in common with all the other short-lived TV serials of the late 90s. The backgrounds are sparse and reused often, and the animation is cheap, flat, and digital. I get it. Yes, it's not the prettiest to look at. That is a valid concern, and I understand, but like, that stems into their idea where it looks like a cheap live-action production. Where it's like, no, this still wouldn't have probably been possible with live action. Because it's a fucking space, like, I don't know. The filmmakers attempt to distract... This is ridiculous. The filmmakers attempt to distract the viewer's attention with occasional flashy graphics and rotoscoping, especially over the opening credits featuring footage of Whitesnake's John Sykes, who sings the theme tune. So they're just like... I mean, it attempts to distract how bad it looks because it's a good OP. Like, yeah... I don't get... Like, the way I wrote it was... Attempt to distract with good animation? Like, it looks good in places, but it's trying to distract you from places when it doesn't. How do you get away with that? The audacity. I don't get, like, the reason I'm trying to articulate why this pisses me off. they're literally backhanding the OP from the like. Oh, they could have said it's saved by a very good OP with really interesting anime and who solo animated it maybe, but all they talk about is John Sykes singing the OP, I guess. But they're just like, oh, it tends to distract it. Sometimes it looks good, but don't be fooled. Like, what do you talk? Like, ugh. Let me just read the chat. Backgamon's interesting, but I'm not a big fan of it. Amazing opening, though. Yeah, fair. I bought Birdy of Age. Maybe I'll try by hand of North American release, but it's out of print and expensive as all heck. Decode is out of print now. Bummer. Yeah. The disrespect. Ouch. Sounds like a Star Wars fan complaint. Star Wars. Star Wars. I'm sorry. It's because there's another entry here somewhere where they're just like, it's a Star Wars ripoff. I'm like, cool. This show isn't what I want it to be. Ergo, it's bad. Right. It is kind of leading into that, too. I don't understand all this hate for slice of life. Most classic literature would actually fit in that genre, like Heidi or Anne. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. There's another. What was the other one that they have? They show contempt for slice of life. Barefoot Gen. I'll read their Barefoot Gen entry in a sec, but like, that's the point. You know, they're missing the point. It also costs a hell of a lot more than a pot of paint. Yeah, you're right. That's a great point. It's very it is sort of trivializing anime in itself in a way too, when you port it like that. But like clearly they're just trying to be clever by doing an alliteration, trying to nice prose or something, but it comes off very irritating, ignorant, and I don't know. I really don't like it. Yeah, not a fan of that article. It's been a rough reading. It's hour and 24, and I still, it's a lot left. These people know how to write anything besides snarky 90s magazine articles. I mean, this is a lot of work. They wrote a lot here, and Clements did write anime history, which I've heard very good things about. I've heard very good things about anime history. And that one's actually really taught in school, like literally like college textbook. But like we assigned this book to you for class, kind of book. He wrote that, not this book, but anime history. And I want to listen to Pause and Select's book club of it. I just realized I have all this food here and I haven't eaten. Granted, it's not a kosher thing to do on stream, but I need it. Sorry. I probably should eat them. How do streamers do it? Perhaps they eat right before. That's fair. I only just finished reading before. I'm sorry. Or maybe I just eat and drink like while I'm reading comments. That's so smart. God, I have to do better at streaming. Sorry, fellas. It downplays the amazing work that actually goes into making anime that actually do have a lot of crazy space battles. Right. Yeah, it does. Also, just sort of like, it's not easy to do this in live action either. Like Babylon 5, Star Trek, a lot of these other titles that are like, you know, Battlestar Galactica. You know, they do a lot of work on the sets and the costumes and all that. I don't know. It's a big deal. Where was I? Okay. Let's get into the mixed opinions. So they call Barefoot Gen a terrifying snapshot, but it's passing of time for its own sake. Grave was better. Of course, Grave was fucking better. Not that I have a fucking opinion. I haven't seen Barefoot Gen. I've seen Grave. I haven't seen Barefoot Gen. I've heard good things about it, but it's like, why do you gotta... Why? Where are you? Barefoot Gen. A hard-hitting tale of the horrors of war based on Kenji Nakazawa's 73 manga. Barefoot Gen's only shortcomings lie in the nature of the original material. Since it is semi-autobiographical... Sheesh. It chronicles events instead of subsuming them into a narrative. The bombing of Hiroshima is the central event of Nakazawa's life and work. But once past the immediate aftermath, the film falls into a selection of vignettes. This style was used to better effect in Grave of the Fireflies, where such scenes denoted the character's slow decline. But since the hero of Barefoot Gen survives, the use of these scenes in this film often seem to depict the passing of time for its own sake. Nevertheless, Barefoot Gen's a terrifying snapshot of one of the most horrific events in human history, perhaps all the more harrowing because it is presented in the cartoon medium so often associated with children's entertainment. Like, I get it, you're right. That is something we kind of praise Barefoot Gen for as like a very specific high watermark of like, oh, look at this fucked up shit, right? Because it really graphically depicts Hiroshima, very famously. But like, that little dig, it's like, oh, usually they're little cartoons for kids. That they kind of looking down on animation type of thing. Or maybe they're acknowledging it and they're not themselves embracing it. That could probably be true too. And that's actually something they're trying to fight against in this encyclopedia. They say like the first sentence in the encyclopedia, the introduction, that they're like, it's not just Pokemon, guys, there's more. Despite the worldwide commercial success of Pokemon, many critics still judge anime on the basis of the violent and pornographic titles widely promoted by Western distributors. We have always argued for a broader perspective. And all right, that's their aim in this book, right? Maybe that's what they're acknowledging, but it's just like, that was a little weird to me. But yeah, Betterman, Grave of the Fireflies, and like, come on, he lives at the end. He lived Barefoot Gen. Like he survives Hiroshima. Come on. Who cares? The rest of the movie. Okay. Sheesh. And of course, the sequel is obviously more after Hiroshima. Like, that doesn't even include the bombing. So they just describe it. They don't really give their opinion on it. They just say there's a sequel. And then they mention some other things too. Yeah. But like, it's kind of weird to me. They think Ghibli is better. Shocker. Big shocker. I'm gonna be interested to see if they dislike any Ghibli film. Maybe Earthsea. Probably Earthsea. Or Up and Poppy. Anything by Goro Miyazaki, perhaps. But, and that's not my opinion, or my words. I don't remember what article it was, but I remember them mentioning there was like a true Miyazaki successor, like a true Ghibli director. I'm like, what could you possibly be referring to otherwise? Again, is quite different from Grave, but of course you compare it. Grave is also semi-biographical. Fireflies is also semi-biographical. Maybe they mentioned that. Well, this one, historical drama, is good, but this other one, based on different events, is so much better. Firegrave, I bet their point about Grave, because yes, Fireflies, I don't know this for sure, this is a guess. Maybe they say Fireflies is also semi-autobiographical, but their problem with Gen is that they didn't turn it into a narrative. Like, they kill the characters at the end of... Sorry for spoilers for Grave of the Fireflies. Well, it's at the beginning of the movie. Like, there's a narrative thrust there, but maybe in reality that isn't what actually happened, but they're doing that for dramatic effect, for the sake of the narrative, for the sake of the movie, for being a better movie. But Barefoot Gen is so strictly autobiographical, like, yes, I survived Hiroshima, and this is what I saw. But that's the thing. That's the fucking point. He saw these things. And I guess that their problem is that there's more movie after the bomb drops, and it just seems like, oh, who cares? I don't know what they're trying to say. Yeah. Bastard they were mixed on. Blasé jokiness seems to work for Bastard. Okay. Although if tried too often, if tried too often, it can grate painfully. So they weren't the biggest fans of how many hard metal, like heavy metal albums they're referencing, I guess. They're like, that's cool, I guess. But they seem just kind of mid on it. Seems mixed to me. Not negative. Bavistock is they basically call it a Star Wars ripoff, but they don't really insinuate whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just sort of like the reality. but I put it as an opinion because that just seems, calling anything a ripoff of anything seems like an opinion to me. Unless they say in the blurb, the creator or director or somebody who worked on it was like, this is a thing on this thing, but they're never gonna admit that. No, I don't know anyone that would admit that, right? So I think of most of the time this is going to be very much ripoff is a opinion, is going to be my stance on this. But yeah, Bavistock cherry picking the destruction of the planet Alderaan, the rescue of Princess Leia, and the Endor speeder bike chase from the early Star Wars films. Bavistock is a deliberate attempt to reverse engineer U.S. space opera, and that's kind of, all they say about it. But it seems like an opinion to me. So they're gonna hate JoJo for all its references? Well, I don't know. I don't know, because I don't think they even got to part 3 in either edition. Well, they did, actually. They did, technically, in the OVA. We'll see what they say about the OVA. But there's something about JoJo that they kind of reference that's just kind of a weird choice that I thought that was funny. But we're already now in 30. I have to kind of rapid fire. Beast Warriors, they thought it was hackneyed but entertaining. Beloved Betty, they thought it was a knockoff of Bewitched. Again, it's an opinion. Berserk, they seemed mixed on. They don't seem to have an opinion on 97. I'll read Berserk's entry in a sec. It's a fucking it'll probably be the first thing I mention, actually, right after this. But they do have an opinion about the movies. They said the world building is oddly bipolar. That's an opinion. I don't know. That sounds kind of even-handed or mixed or something. But it's an opinion. It's like, okay. Biohunter looks just like every other Demons Among Us tale. And that's all they say about it. They're just like, it just looks like every other one. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. No. Birth of Japan, no truer to life than Princess Mononoke. Oh, right. Birth of Japan, they were just like, this is about a kappa. It's this whole thing. And they're just like, Birth of Japan, they describe it as true to life, accurate. It's no truer to life than Princess Mononoke. I don't know. That it might not be an opinion per se, but there's something kind of like backhanded and mixed about it to me. They're probably going to talk about the OVAs as the initial edition of this book predates the anime. Exactly. Although the third edition probably mentions the TV series, but at least as of 2015, only the first 2 parts had been adapted. Or did they have the third part 3? I don't know. I doubt they mentioned it though. We'll see. By 100 Birth of Japan, and then Blackjack. They were not very enthused about the OVAs. I want to read their not the whole thing, because it's kind of a big article, of course. The manga was followed in 1993 by an anime version on video from the Golgo 13 team of Dazaki and Sugino. Okay. Undertaken as part... I don't know what... The thing that was weird to me is that, like, why mention Golgo 13 specifically? And also, why Dazaki and Sugino? Yeah, they're the Golden Combi, but if you're going to mention... why are they called the Golden 13 team? Right? Okay. Not that I don't like... They hate Golden 13. I know that. They don't like that movie. But anyway. But so that means... So that implies to me... They were like, oh, the Golgo 13 guys. So of course the OVAs aren't very good. Undertaken as part of an ongoing plan to produce animated versions of all of Tezuka's work, the videos suffer from faithfulness to the letter rather than the spirit of the originals, creating a sanitized nostalgia instead of the series' famously dark mood. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm going to read it again. The videos suffer from faithfulness to the letter rather than the spirit of the originals. What's the difference? Creating a sanitized nostalgia instead of the series' famously dark mood. I mean, okay, I've seen the OVAs. I've not read the manga. but I know Tezuka's work. How do you expect I don't understand how, if it's faithful to the letter, so the content isn't different. You're saying that the content isn't different. How is the OVA not darker than the fucking manga? Tezuka's manga for Blackjack? What does he do, something different? I've only kind of glanced at a lot of Tezuka's manga, so I was like, oh, of course he can't talk about it. But like, I failed to see how Dazaki could have made it not dark, like sanitized. Compared to like the third edition, they're praising the third edition. Look at the fucking third. Okay, sorry with the encyclopedia again. Look at this. I'll just give you a fucking visual for this first of all. Here's the manga. Just this art, just this one. Yeah, like surely there's probably like really good detail of like the bodies and stuff like that. Like maybe like the anatomy because he was a former doctor. Sure. Here's the OVA. I'll give multiple posters for it. Like, okay. That kind of seems that seems kind of brooding and okay. Here's the TV. Let me where am I at? Let me read the third edition. One sec. Here's the third edition. Here's the TV, okay? Like, yeah, they are more accurate to his physical character designs. But color-wise, mood-wise, like, just based on these images, maybe they're just not as good images or something, or you can't judge the whole anime by the fucking images. Look at the fucking, look! This is thumbnails from the fucking anime, dude. Is that wrong? Am I wrong? Is that not... Are these not fucking screen caps of the manga, of the anime, of the TV anime? Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. I'm gonna read the fucking Blackjack. This is the new blurb that they have. The franchise was slowly reintroduced to the market with Blackjack Flash, a dozen 11-minute episodes of Flash animation, representing one of the first obvious attempts by an animation studio to a mass broadcast material that could be reused on mobile phones. Plots from Flash were recycled in Four Miracles of Life, a miniseries. After teasing the waters with exquisite care, the franchise was truly revived with Blackjack 2004, a 62-episode TV series directed by Tezuka's son Makoto, sometimes credited with his preferred romanization Makoto with a C. All incarnations of the franchise adhered closely to the story of the original manga. Another movie, they just have like obvious praise for this version, which is more closer to the manga because I guess it has closer designs. It looks closer to his manga, I guess. This is the original. This is the spirit. This has the spirit of the originals. And this has the series' famously dark mood, I would be safe to assume. This is faithfulness to the letter, but not the spirit of the originals, and a sanitized nostalgia instead of the series' famously dark mood. What am I missing? What am I missing here? And what am I implying here as well? What I'm implying is this kind of continues their little Dazaki erasure. I don't think they like anything from Osamu Dazaki. Maybe some things. Obviously, they have respect for Aim for the Ace, but that's a manga. Couldn't possibly be... Who cares if Dazaki directed that, I guess? I don't know. Did they even watch the OVAs? They're way darker than the manga. TV series is lighter, though the movie is darker. And the movie, yeah, they do have praise for the movie. And that's why I have it in mixed, because they were like, the movie's good. Blackjack movie dumps the condescending attitude that crept into the video series. The video series. What condescending attitude? You didn't even mention that. I look at the whole thing. They literally just describe by brass tacks of what each video, the synopsis of every episode, pretty much. Not a full detailed one, but like, in this episode, he must do this. In this episode, he does this. And they literally do that for this OVA series. I don't know why. But that's kind of all they say about it. Because they return to live action and blah, blah, blah. I don't get it. Well, did that prime you guys well enough? It's only an hour and 40 minutes, and it's been mostly pretty negative about this encyclopedia. How many people do I have on stream? I usually don't check this. 11. Okay. So, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into Berserk. So, weird. Now it's just odd choices. I don't know if we're going to have time for open read. Not like I have to stick this to 2 hours or I'm going to die or something, but like, you know, it's going to be a little long in the tooth. Here's all the problems with the Berserk. So, let me read their, I didn't read the notes. Let me read you the synopsis for the first editions for Berserk. Here it is. Let me pull the chat up. Oh, the second Blackjack. I didn't know there's a second Blackjack movie. Huh. I don't think there are any director besides Miyazaki and... Yeah, maybe they like... I guess they do like Takahata. That's fair. No, they love Osamu Tezuka. Tezuka's their other one that's like, all praise be, he did nothing wrong. He's the dude. He did everything. You know, he's ahead of his time as always. Okay. Berserk. Guts, a mercenary, rises fast through the ranks of the Midland Army. Worried at intrigues behind the scenes, he decides to leave. So they're talking about him leaving the Band of the Hawk. Oh! Worried at intrigue behind the scenes. No! It's more complicated than that. I wouldn't just say it's intrigue behind the scenes. They're talking about like him, why he left the Hawks. It's intrigue behind the scenes. He decides to leave, but his leader, Griffiths, with an S, Griffiths. Just pointing it out. I'm not. What is it? What's the wording? Scrutinizing it. I'm just saying. Does not allow him to go, forcing Guts to best him in combat. After seducing the king's daughter, the disgraced Griffiths is thrown in jail. Doesn't say he loses the duel, but okay. Joining forces with the other mercenaries. So they're already skipped like more than half. Okay. Including joining forces with the other mercenaries, including his lover, Casca, Guts attempts to rescue Griffiths, only to discover he has made a pact with Godhand. He's made a pact with Godhand. Interdimensional beings. They are interdimensional, technically, so they're not wrong about that, but still. Who demand human sacrifice. Guts loses an eye and his left arm in the ensuing fight, and is forced to watch as his comrades die, while Casca is raped by the creature that was once Griffiths. Hellbent on revenge, Guts sets off to hunt down Godhand. So the way they're spoiling Berserk, what the fuck? Yeah. Welcome to the Anime Encyclopedia. They, here's all, let me get to my notes. Here's all the anime they spoil in this section. Akachan and Toboku, they kind of lean into where it's going, like narratively and thematically. Baghi, they seem to tell the whole story. Balthus, they seem to tell the whole story. Vanderbook, they just recount the entire movie. It just seems, I haven't seen the movie, but like them like reading it, I'm like, I just feel like I'm getting the fucking cliff notes of the whole movie, and they include the ending of like this character dies, and then this is what the ending looks like. Basara, there's a little too much info about the plot. It just keeps going a lot. It's just a lot of like details. I'm just like, yeah, I probably should know about a lot of this stuff. It's a little much for a synopsis, you know? Battle athletes, they just describe in the grand finale, XYZ happens. This and this happen. Gatchaman, they reveal the identity of a character. There's a movie where they're teaming up with somebody and they reveal the identity to be something else. And there's also a character death apparently in Gatchaman, in like a sequel. I didn't know about that. That sounds like a spoiler to me. Bavistock, there's a little too much synopsis. That's another one where it's just like you're describing kind of the whole thing at this point. And Berserk, of course. But like they say at like in the later part of this, after the synopsis, that it is chiefly told in flashback. But yeah, Yes, they spoil the whole thing. And I'm not too worried about that because Berserk is kind of a really well-known thing, and I love Berserk, and it's not the kind of I'm not too as spoilery about it personally. I understand though if people are sensitive to it, but yeah, no, that's not even the worst thing. It's not even the worst. So that's not a great synopsis. I would like to argue that this is not a very good synopsis, right? They pretty much completely revise this synopsis. Here's the new synopsis. I'll try my best to kind of give you a little compare. I know there's not much visuals to go off of when I'm describing this. Third edition. Guts, a young mercenary who was instrumental in winning the army's last battle, is recruited into the elite mercenary company, the Band of the Hawk, led by the charismatic Griffiths, whose ambitions are aimed squarely at the Kingdom of Midland's throne. That's much better right off the bat, because you are actually describing it as Band of the Hawk instead of a mercenary rises fast through the ranks of the Midland Army, like you hadn't even fucking seen it. I don't even think they fucking saw this anime, dude, or read this manga at all. They don't even know shit about it. But this one actually just sounds like they actually know something about it. Whose ambitions are aimed squarely at Midland's throne. Guts rises rapidly to command in the Hawks based on his immense skill in battle. Meanwhile, Griffiths and the Band of the Hawk prove their worth by winning battle after battle for Midland, themselves rising above high-ranking but untalented comrades. Rising above high-ranking but untalented commanders. Right. They don't change. Worried about intrigues behind the scenes, he decides to leave. But Griffiths doesn't allow him to go, forcing Guts to beat him in combat. They don't change that sentence. Kept that in there. Griffiths is persecuted. Okay, so here's the initial reason he was sentenced. They say, after seducing the king's daughter, the disgraced Griffiths is thrown in jail. Now they changed it to, Griffiths is persecuted by noblemen who resent his promotion on account of his talent instead of family connections, and he is eventually imprisoned. Just because they don't like him, so they imprisoned him. What? Huh? What? The anime aired by Cartoon Network and Adult Swim are pretty good if they're looking for starter recommendations. It's not even accurate. Guts leaves to find his own dream. Exactly. But, huh? Oh, look, I can't really work. It's just getting too sketch. I have to part ways. You can't leave. You'll know our secret. That's just what it sounds like. And it's not even right. They spoil everything in this book. Not everything, but a lot. A lot that they don't need to. There's no rhyme or reason for it at all. I've said this before, so I don't want to be like a broken record, but my thing with it is, if it's important, if it's like a really radical, specific, like Ashino Joe's major spoiler is really influential. Getter Robo's major spoiler of a character death is very, very influential and important and a big turning point. I understand if they have to mention that thing, as long as they specifically cite why they're saying that, because that's important or really necessary to the thing. But like, if they're just saying it for the sake of saying it or to sell people on the anime or something, it's not right. I don't think it's a good choice. There's no justification for this. To finish the third edition synopsis, the Band of the Hawk is ambushed, scattered, and hunted. True. Guts returns, and the pretty Casca... This is so dumb. And the pretty Casca, Griffith's second in command, parentheses, it is a boy's name in the real world, but it's assigned to a girl here, unparentheses, who has unrequited feelings for Griffiths, finds solace in Guts' arms, and eventually joins forces with him to lead a rescue mission. Why do they have to include that thing about Casca's name? And the pretty Casca, it's just like really awkwardly written. Usually they're very good with prose, but like, and the pretty Casca. And then the original, they mention Casca with joining forces with the other mercenaries, including his lover, Casca. And they have to mention Casca because obviously she's the one that's pivotal in the end of the show. Yeah, it's a more accurate type. It's just weird that they is like, it's a boy's name, by the way. However, upon arrival, Guts discovers that Griffiths has been brutally crippled and maimed by torture. Griffiths, in despair and longing for power, eventually makes a pact with the God Hand. At least they got that right now. Demon gods who demand human sacrifice, with disastrous consequences for all concerned. Hey, they don't spoil it! Mostly. Great! Yeah, so, yeah. Not great. Really, really lost my respect for them there. Because here's my thing, right? If you got this wrong, if you got the synopsis for Berserk this badly wrong, I can't imagine what else you may have gotten wrong that I have no idea about. It ruins their credibility almost entirely. They've been good for that. I've not found anything this bad. Maybe Angel's Egg wasn't great, but they at least revised it for the 3rd edition. But like, if they get this wrong, what about these other OVAs that I read the synopsis for and I was like, sounds right to me, sounds accurate. I don't know. I haven't seen those OVAs yet. I have no idea. What else could be wrong? I have no idea. I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself. Pretty Casca? Couldn't even say cute Casca. Yeah. Kawaii Casca. They're thinking of alliteration, right? Weird. Don't spoil Madoka, please. I haven't watched it yet. I will do my best not to. I don't think we can even mention Madoka in the B edition. So, I'll try not to. Fair warning, this book spoils a lot of anime. I'm not going to read the synopsis. I'm not going to read the Madoka entry. I'm going to skim it. I'm going to see free. Actually, it's not in the 1st edition because it came out in 2011. Oh, there's some pretty bad parts later on. Oh, no, Roger. No, don't tell me that. Oh, God. Oh, fuck. Yeah. That's so... Okay. Synopsis is one thing. Let me read you the rest of the article here. So this paragraph here does not change whatsoever from the 1st edition to the 3rd edition. They revised the synopsis, and then we were like, this part's fine, though. We're good here. With a hero whose magical wound will not heal. Now, look. I know what they're referring to with this. But when you say, with a hero whose magical wound will not heal, and earlier, at least in the 1st edition, you say he loses an eye and an arm. I think I always thought, the first thing that came to my mind is they're not magical wounds. He lost an eye and an arm. It's not that he's magical that will not heal. He lost them. That's the thing in the real, like, what are you talking about, right? Magical wound. They're referring to the brand. They're referring to the fucking scar on his neck. Why call it magical wound? Why don't you talk about the God Hand branding their sacrifices? That's so confusing. Why? It's so weird. It's a very strange choice. It's fine. I'm here knowing what can happen. Thank you. I appreciate it, John. John. I'm not sure. Joke, yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but it's... Yeah, no, I won't spoil Madoka for you. But yeah, what? Wound? The baddie's named the... Baddie... Okay, with a hero whose magical wound will not heal, a baddie's named after sci-fi greats... Sci-fi greats. Oh, the God Hand. Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that they were named after sci-fi greats. Oh, let me list them for you. Conrad, Ubik, Slan, and Boscone. Boscone? Wait. That doesn't sound familiar. Who could they be referring to? Void. I've thought of this all ahead, by the way. I've already freaked out about this. They're referring to Void as Boscone. And I'm like, where did you get that? So for the record, I was like, what even is Boscone? And I also looked at what each of these sci-fi greats are. Boscone is a species from the Lensman series. Okay. Sure, Miura pulling from Lensman. Wow. Slan is the name of a book, I believe. I looked all these up. Slan is the name of the book and a race and an alien race, or some kind of race. I don't know, but it's a sci-fi book. Ubik. If you look up Ubik, you'll find there is a. It's either the book or it's an author. Let me wait a minute. You look up Ubik, it does show up. It's a 1969 science fiction novel written by Philip K. Dick. Yeah, it's called Ubik. Yeah, and but Conrad is supposed to be a sci-fi great. Obviously, if you Google Conrad, you're not gonna fucking find anything. Like, wait, what are you talking about? And I'm gonna make a guess that they were referring to Joseph Conrad, like the author of Lord Jim and The Heart of Darkness. He wrote one sci-fi book that I can find. I'm like, you look up Conrad sci-fi, and that's what you come up with. It's just the author Conrad, and it's hard to know what else they're talking about. Maybe it's Doctor Who or something. I don't know. But why would Miura be referencing Doctor Who like that? Just scrubbed back to the Birdy the Mighty and Black Heaven entries. So disappointing. I know. It feels like they just want to complain about shows instead of just saying whatever might be interesting about each one. Just a bad approach. I am obviously just giving my perspective. I'm not reading the whole encyclopedia to you. They are giving a lot of interesting insight about a lot of them. I'm not mentioning them because they're not sticking out to me as odd or spoilers or an opinion. Because it's going to be really hard to really articulate that. But it's going to be hard because it's just opinion. It's just facts. It's just facts, and that's what it should be. The reason I guess it's so interesting is because of all these little things that they're putting in and these choices they're making. But I'm not focusing on the stuff that they're at when they're actually doing their job. I'm not making point of it. There's a lot of great research and interesting info in here, but I'm not bringing that forward in the same way. Because it's just like, yeah, I guess that's interesting. I didn't know it had a live action thing here or this little tidbit or stuff. Although I certainly haven't been learning anything super interesting or new about the titles I do know about, which is saying something, I guess. You probably don't know about Lensman from the anime movie. Yeah. So I mean, I do. In that regard, I am definitely painting this book in a pretty bad light when I'm doing it in this format, but that's my reasoning for doing it, because otherwise I'd just be spewing the entire encyclopedia to you, and that's not what I want to do. Because A, that would just be not fair use, and second, it wouldn't be interesting, right? Not as interesting as like freaking out about this shit. So Bosco, I think it's supposed to be Void, so that was just a strange addition, and it's the same in the first edition, and then 15 years later, nobody corrected them on it. On Berserk? Boscone? What are you talking about? Or people did, and they just didn't. This book was called The Immortal, apparently serialized as And Call Me Conrad. Okay, interesting. It was The Immortal. That was the one I remember. When it came up with Conrad sci-fi, that's what shows up. It's that book. Fighting on and off the battlefield, and no punches pulled in its savagery and delivery. I will say, saying that the baddies are named after sci-fi greats is itself interesting, and I think that's great additive stuff, and that's good. But Boscone, is it because you didn't have a sci-fi equivalent for Void, and so you just made something else up? I don't know what happened there. Or maybe he was originally called Boscone somewhere. I don't get it. Where did that happen? And no punches pulled in savagery and devilry. Berserk was a manga hit with both readers and critics when it appeared in Young Animal magazine. Told chiefly in flashback, the anime series covers early chapters in Miura's manga. The series was lampooned. This is a weird choice. The series was lampooned in an episode of the Oh My Goddess anime, Adventures of Mini Goddess, in which Skuld and Erd, dressed as Guts and Griffiths, must rescue Beldandi from a castle. Not that Guts kind of influenced the big sword trope or anything. Not that it's one of the most beloved fantasy series of all time. Not really just in Japan, but in kind of the world at this point. What's going on? I mean, it doesn't even sound like they read it or seen it. They do have this new paragraph, and yeah, let me just read you this. The one opinion they share about it. The world building can hence... Okay. This is oh my god. The entire article is just bizarre about Berserk. I don't know what happened. They lost their friggin' minds or something. This is new in the 3rd edition, or at least at least as of the 3rd edition, because all 3 movies came out after 2006. So this is for specifically the 3rd edition. They released the 3 movies, retelling supposedly at their creator's request. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's true. More or less the same sequence of events from the TV show, encompassing chapters 4 through 13 in an ongoing series that has already passed the 37th volume. Encompassing chapters! They say chapters! It's volumes! They very clearly mean volumes. Golden Age is volumes 4 through 13. Dead, full stop. They meant volumes, but they said chapters. Ooh. Chapters. Oh, thank you. Nice poster. In an ongoing series that was presented the 37th volume are in recurring popular. Arc is recurringly popular, at least in part. Okay, so they're explaining why the Golden Age keeps getting adapted. At least in part because it is chronologically the earliest part of Guts' complex storyline and must be covered before any efforts to advance further along in the narrative. I didn't stop 16 and 17. Just that doesn't make too much. That doesn't like damn them too badly, but it does kind of make their point kind of moot afterwards. Toshiyuki Kubooka's trilogy, made with the benefit of many blah 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 blah. So they're talking about like, video games. You know, they're influencing the 3D elements and stuff. Yeah, this is a silly sentence. Screened in Japan before local viewers had the chance to compare it to the very similar TV show Game of Thrones. God damn it. It presents a mixing pot view of European history that like that of the original manga, perhaps better described as impressionistic rather than anachronistic, with Dark Age technology often rubbing shoulders with Renaissance fashions. The world building can hence be oddly bipolar. That's the opinion. With some staffers lovingly recreating the precise roofing designs of real-world castles, others pointing to medieval cookbooks with banquet recipes for baked dolphin. This is in their entry about Berserk. With banquet their only time to talk about Berserk. This is your representation for this really seminal classic. Others pointing to medieval cookbooks with banquet recipes for baked dolphin, but many seemingly just picking costumes and settings because they look good. Unimpressive at best. Now every fantasy compared to Game of Thrones. I know. Game of Thrones, like TV show Game of Thrones, not even like not even the book series by George R.R. Martin, like the HBO show. Yeah, unimpressive at best, maliciously misinformed at worst. I shouldn't say maliciously, in this particular. I don't know. I don't get what they're doing here. Malicious as fantasy is Game of Thrones, right? So that's their Berserk article. Quite the whirlwind. Again, they mentioned they end their Berserk article in the 01 book as like there were rumors of a US release following the publication of the Sword of the Berserk game on the Dreamcast, but negotiations were reportedly incomplete at our deadline. That's all they say about Berserk. Not that one thing, obviously, but like, sheesh. Fucking sheesh. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Sorry if I'm gonna go over, guys. Here's what it is. I had a crazy time ranting about Baybrade and Berserk and Birdy and all these things, all the bees. Odd choices. Let me just list these off. I've said a lot of them already. Balthus, only an anime, and it's not the same year. Banner Tale, much to the annoyance of anime fans expecting giant robots. So Banner Tale is like a slice of life. Of course it is. But it's showing further. It's more evidence of like this contempt that they seem to have for anime fans. They're just like dumb kids that just want giant robots. The story received a very limited US subtitled broadcast on some Japanese community TV stations shortly after its Japanese release. That's really interesting. Much to the annoyance of anime fans expecting more giant robots. That's what you're going to say about that fucking show. Come on. Come on. Not that I'm a die hard for Banner Tales or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Bow. Yeah, so the JoJo thing, they describe mid-combat posturing in the style of martial arts movies. And not like, JoJo's. What they say that they mention Araki and JoJo's. Let me read this. It also features mid-combat posturing in the style of martial arts movies, as characters pause to announce their next special move before striking. Special moves is in quotations. Hirohiko Araki's original manga in Shonen Jump only lasted for 2 volumes in '84, though the creator would find much more enduring success with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yeah, like the thing that he... It's like martial arts movies. I guess it's fine. But it's kind of silly that he would just... It's like, yeah, he does that. That's a thing that he does. I don't know. Battle athletes. Akari works hard, a staple of all such anime, since being a natural implies one is lazy. Where, when, what? The theme of hard work and talent is a Shonen Jump trope. Is like a Shonen trope that's like really major and classic and like covered a lot. When on earth does anyone? It's like, oh, since being a natural implies one is lazy. When? Lazy is not what I think of when I think of Gaara. Lazy is not what I think of when I think of Sasuke as being a natural. Right? That's just so bizarre. It's like you don't know what you're talking about, man. They do a lot where they bring up the actual creator and then proceed to compare it to anything but that creator's other work. It is, yeah. I would love to... I'm going to put that as a trend, and we're going to... A lot of these trends that I'm putting at the bottom here is... I'm just going to rip your thing wholesale, Roger. Because I don't have time to type it all out. But you're right. But I think it'll be interesting to see what evidence we can use to bring that up and give multiple examples, right? But I totally agree. It's really funny. Yeah. This is so... Ugh. What's wrong with being a natural? Why do the characters always have to work hard? You don't get it. Yeah, so they didn't change Baybrade in their synopsis. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that. They also have in the first edition, and it didn't change in the third edition, at least it got them out of the house. Contempt for the audience that enjoys these shows. Describe Ape Escape in their third edition paragraph, but didn't bold it when they have an entry for it. So they have an entry for Ape Escape, but in that entry they don't mention the 2002 film that they mention here in this Beyblade entry, because Ape Escape, I guess, was it was a double showing with this Beyblade movie, and then in this article in the third edition, they're just like, yeah, this is what the Ape Escape 2002 is about. It's about this thing, the evil scientist, blah blah. And I'm like, why are you describing the thing it was played with? Like, why aren't you describing the Beyblade movie? I don't know. It was just a strange choice for it. And what they do with the stylings with the Encyclopedia is they bold and have it in all caps when they're referencing a title, so they know, oh, there is an entry in this book about that title that you can go and look up, and that's their idea. That's the cinch of it, basically, of why they're name dropping all this stuff. But they don't do that for here. They don't link to an Ape Escape because they don't mention this 2002 movie in their article about Ape Escape, which is like it's a TV show. I don't know if they knew if this was even connected, if it was the same franchise. I don't know if they know. It was a strange choice to me that stuck out. And then they say in the Beyblade article, While the links of Pokemon and One Piece, let me read it. And this is in the 3rd edition too, or at least maybe the second. Again, I don't have the 3rd edition with me. Baybrade. Yeah. This is weird. While the likes of Pokemon and One Piece have attracted the attention of fandom and pundits internationally, Beyblade remains a quiet blue-chip success in the manner of Zoids, still running on Japanese television 12 years after its debut. Why mention One Piece? While the likes of Pokemon and One Piece have attracted the attention of fandom, there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for that. Why not say Digimon or something that's sort of tangential? I get mentioning Pokemon because it's a monster-based thing. But why not anything else? But why One Piece? Because it's a long-running show? I think that's why. But also, Pokemon breaks itself into seasons just like Beyblade does. It doesn't really separate itself from that. I don't really know what they're going for here. I wonder if they even know the creative or is the author is the creative. Yeah, they do. It'll be funny to find an example where they don't and it slips their mind, but I'm pretty sure they do. Takahashi seems like one of the creators they actually have praise for. Contempt not only for the audience watching anime, but their own audience for this book. I don't know what their audience is, frankly. They say what their intended audience is. It's for the group of people that have not learned, who are just getting started with anime. They don't know any of the terminology or words. They just they just want to have an idea of it. Surface level fans or a general audience is what they're going for here. Not hardcore fans. They seem to have contempt for hardcore fans, as evidenced in multiple places for me. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe for their own book, sure. I hate when writers look down on their audience. I know, I do too. Although what's really sad is that they are trying to they're claiming that they're trying to respect their audience. They hate that too. They say so. They say as much in their either the introduction or their Ancast podcast where they're talking about the 3rd edition. And listening to them, you can clearly tell that they care. They're passionate, really charismatic, seem like great people. Obviously have the little hiding it and like a little edge, a little snark in places. But nothing like this. You don't get this. I don't know where this is coming from. I really think it's because a lot of this was written in 2001 and they haven't changed much of it. And they couldn't change much of it because they were focused on the new entries and writing the new entries. And the minimal revisions. They don't want to put more work than they already are. There's a ton of work that they're doing in this for each new edition. They're not changing any of their opinions or stances. Even if they may have changed. I am excited to see if there's any instance in this encyclopedia where there is a changed opinion. If there is a opinion in the 1st edition that is completely different in the 3rd edition. I am looking forward to that. If that doesn't happen, that's really sad. There's 15 years between these two books, and you didn't change your opinion on any of these anime? Not a fucking one? I don't believe you, first of all. And second of all, that's really sad. I'm hoping there's a changed opinion somewhere. So far, there is none. Not a single one. It is for people that don't know much why... If it's for people that don't know that much, why spoil them? I don't know. There is no... I can't get... there's a lot of choices that they're making here that I'm like, I can see why they did that. That's dumb, but I understand why. Spoils, I have absolutely no idea. Why are you doing that? I feel like they just want people to only agree with their opinions. No. They do want people to have different opinions. That's actually the reason they put the opinions to begin with. They want people to disagree with this book. They want people to have a conversation in it. This discussion we're having right now, they want this. They want this. Or they say they want this. And not really fully realizing the ramifications of it. They don't think someone like me is crazy enough to read the entire book cover to cover. Which I haven't yet. Maybe I'll give up. Maybe it'll be a broken record and maybe I'll just give up and peter out. I like this. I'm really enjoying talking with you guys and reading this book and discussing anime and stuff, and because it forms my own perspective, right? The more you're able to, this sharpens your own opinions and perspective. Like, no, I don't want to see this in anime. I don't want to follow this this idea of only an anime, right? Or a pot of paint and things like that. I'm very happy to be talking about this because it forms my own opinions. So I love doing this right now. This would be interesting to see because I only read the third edition. Yeah, that's why I'm doing the first and third. Totally, it's a lot of dumb work because you're looking back and forth to the two things and seeing the same wording. It's so annoying, but it's worth it and interesting because the differences are so far have been interesting, minimal but interesting. Sorry if I'm still, I get detracted a lot. Yeah, I don't know why they put One Piece though. Anyway, Beast Warriors. Yeah, it's a weird way to put it. Chiefly remember today. I talked about that. Berserk. We talked about. Betterman. So Betterman. You guys know Betterman, right? I mean, at least according, I know Mal is not the most reliable source. Again, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling the fucking third edition. I know Mal is not the be-all end-all source, right? You shouldn't fully rely on it for information. But you can look at the character designs. Maybe this one has a bigger one? Yeah. You can look at these character designs. And who made it? Yoshitomo Yonitani, the dude. He did a lot for it. It's not hard to imagine, but maybe there's even harder confirmation, like it dead ass is. I haven't seen Betterman yet, or the Brave series. This is an alternate universe. It's an alternate setting to the Brave series. They don't seem to know that in this encyclopedia. There's no mention of Betterman anywhere in the Brave entry. There's actually only... They really don't mention Betterman anywhere else. They kind of just call it a Gundam ripoff. Let me just read what they wrote here about Betterman. I didn't really put it as an opinion per se, because they don't really spout an opinion. In the grand tradition of Gundam, Sunrise filed the serial numbers off its standard story template and punched it out again post-Evangelion. Evidence, if ever it was required, that 2 years after you do something in the anime business, you can do it all over again and nobody will notice. Except us, of course. Yeah, the normies won't know. It won't care or notice. But we will, because we care. We're anime encyclopedists. In the grand tradition of... Let me read that one more time, because I don't want to be just putting words in my mouth. In the grand tradition of Gundam, Sunrise filed the serial numbers off its standard story template and punched it out again post-Evangelion. Evidence, if ever it was required, that 2 years after you do something in the anime business, you can't do it all over again, and you can do it all over again, and nobody will notice. Weird. They don't seem to know it's connected to Brave either. Big O. Katayama's earlier giant robo. Yeah. Roger, did you notice this? Fucking Kazuyoshi Katayama. I was like, why do they mention Big O has a distinct resemblance not only to director Katayama's earlier giant robo. So Katayama, he directed Big O. But when you say Big O has a distinct resemblance not only to director Katayama's earlier giant robo, it makes it sound like he directed Giant Robo too, which he didn't. What he did, he is a key animator, but mainly he was an animation director for 4 episodes, and storyboarder for 4 episodes. Significant role, enough to that's fair enough to be his earlier Giant Robo, I guess. The real obvious thing is that that they don't even have to do that. like, obviously, again, what they're trying to do is connect Giant Robo to Big O so you can look at the dictionary more. But then they put at the end, retro-spirited action in the spirit of Giant Robo and Steam Detectives. So why mention Giant Robo here? It's like, oh, because he worked on this thing too. It's like his only... It's like, oh, the director, oh, yeah, so worked on Giant Robo, there you go. I don't know, it was just a weird wording to me, personally. I couldn't understand that, personally. No. I did notice that, Giaru Zimagawa. Right? It sounds like they're talking about... And, like, I look at Giant Robo's entry, and they do... I haven't actually looked at myself. Let me... I think I may have already when I was doing this. Let me just double check. If Giant Robo is listed as Imagawa. It is. And in fact, they don't in their little blurb about like the different people who worked on it, Katayama is not mentioned at all in Giant. Maybe in this like paragraph or something in their bigger. Maybe they mention him somewhere else. But like not in their blurb, not in their like first little chunk there. You know what I mean? It's like what? Okay, yeah. Sorry, you guys are geeking out about Betterman. Sorry I moved on so quick. That would be interesting. Betterman is quite far from Gundam. It's more Ava clone with bio robots and all, but Gundam because Sunrise, I suppose. And yeah, it's connected to Go Gaigar. Yonitani performed the ending theme himself too, which has been a nice fun fact to add to. Yeah, I don't know if they. Again, like they don't have much of a care for other creators besides the ones that they have as direct. They have a really personal stake in with Miyazaki, Takahata, Tezuka, right? Yonitani, it's like, you know, who cares? Yonitani, who cares? I remember Betterman and Tenchi. Like, I liked it as a kid. What are they talking about? Sunrise made Gundam. They can make no other mecha anime. I know. I did notice that. It was in my god. Big O's design was meant to be a tribute to Giant Robo. Yeah, probably. I wouldn't doubt that. But it's just sort of like the way you went about that is very strange, personally. So Big X, not gonna go into it, but I am gonna go into it just a little. They say it's listed as Dazaki as the director. He's not the first person listed as the director, but he is second as the director. This was what I was talking about in my the myths of Dazaki. I was like, where did this fan subgroup get the idea that Dazaki directed Big X? Where did ANN get it? Did they get it from this fan? I don't know. They got it from here. They got it from the first edition in 2001. Mitsuteru Okamoto, Osamu Dazaki. Both of them listed as director. And I know that there is reason to be scrutiny about the staff, which I believe is one of the things I'm trying to not... Staff listing? It's one of the things I'm trying not to... Because here's the thing. If I had to research... Like, I'm not trying to fact check this fucking thing. That's not my immediate intention. I'm not trying to scrutinize it. I would be here... It would take my entire life. It'd be at my every waking hour. I do not want that to... I like the weekly thing. I do like the weekly. That does not... I don't want to make it that badly. So I haven't been so hard on the staff listing, but I want to bring this up because this week, Build Knuckle had made a thread about Kano, and I forget what prompted me to look at the Encyclopedia for their article about it. It was because of Ano. That was what it was. Because last week when we were talking about Ano being credited for only early episodes of Kano, we're like, what the hell, right? And I mentioned that, and we talked a little bit more with me and Build. And Build Knuckle, by the way, you know, he did this big thread about Kano. He was kind of the guy who really sounded the alarm on this. Well, the whole group watch did at the time, but he's really spearheaded it and has continued the march about it. But like, he's made this whole thing about Ano never left the production of Kano. He was the director the entire time, and it turns out the only director. He has this. So what happens is we were comparing back and forth, and I'm like, oh, look at the art. I take pictures of the first edition of their blurb about Kano because they mentioned Goldfish Warning as an influence for its style, for the chibi characters. And I'm like, oh, we watched Goldfish Warning, the group watch together. And we love it. So we're like, oh, I thought you'd find this interesting. And then he's like, wait a minute. Kazuya Tsurumaki is listed as director in that encyclopedia? That predates the Amazon listing by 4 years. I'm like, what? Wait, he never directed Kare Kano? No. He's a storyboarder or something. Like, he didn't direct it. Not even close. And they have him listed as director. Where did they get that info from? What? Right? Where did that come from? 2001. That's a huge bit of misinformation. And so I'm like, well, if I can't find the real reason Zaki actually being in Big X, besides storyboarding, which is the same thing that happened with Tsurumaki here with Kare Kano, it's interesting, isn't it? But again, there could be a lot more misinformation like that in this encyclopedia, but I will never know because I'm not looking that deep into it. But obviously, if it's on my radar, I can still point it out. I get the impression in general with their Big O piece, they did not touch it more than much from the 2001 version. Probably not. They seem to like the Art Deco, and it's a positive impression, but they don't have much opinion about it, apparently. Not surprised, because it's a 20-episode TV show. How much of those have they really seen? Yeah. So yeah, they listed as director. Birdy the Mighty, there's a dig on the dub. We talked about that, the South Park reference. Bit the Cupid, it's a wacky world. I don't know what this is coming from. It's not even like content for anime fans or something. It's just like, where did that come from? Yeah, Bit the Cupid. One of the earliest anime to be made inside a computer. It was broadcast in English on Fox Kids in the Netherlands. M-. It's a wacky world. Huh? What does that have to do with it? Huh? Huh? I don't get it. Black Heaven, Pots of Pain, I talked about that. Oh my god. Blackjack, description of each OVA, Tree in the Sun. Yeah, I talked about that too. Whoo! My gosh, it's 2.5 hours. We've had a good time. We've had a very good time, I think. What are some traits and yeah, so this is what we're kind of working with right now. They give importance to proper credit and knowing the names of the people who make it. What do I mean by writing that? Sorry, let me put up my notes. Right here. They give importance to proper credit and knowing the names of the people who make it. Right. So they're that is an interesting, like, okay. It sounds like a low bar. But the fact that they are emphasizing the people behind it is something they say in their introduction, that like we want to know the names behind it, and that's something I really respect and admire, and something that is very uncharacteristic for a 2001 source. That's great. You know, a lot of this stuff that we're complaining about, we're missing a lot of the things of what it is bringing interesting things. So that will be something that will be interesting to really wrestle with and dig into, and try to take all these biases and foresight and everything out of the equation. Try to really focus on the positives, I guess. Often share Seiyu anecdotes when they mention they weren't bogging the book down with VA credits. Yeah, it's because the blurb that they have underneath each title, they list the director. They usually list the director, the script, design, animation, music, production, TV, like where it was broadcast, like TV Tokyo, and then the length, 25 minutes, 48 episodes, etc., etc. That sort of information. That's what they went with. So they didn't include voice actors, but they really bog it down with a lot of like, hey, Sailor Moon voiced in this, or the character who played this one was in this, or whatever. I think they do that in case there's nothing else interesting for them to talk about, in their opinion. Yeah, season 2 had not come out until 2002, 03 on Adult Swim. I definitely feel like they would have mentioned it if they had written the second or third edition. Yeah, there's no. Let me double check on the Big O entry, but like they don't seem to change any opinion about it. Yeah, it is completely unchanged from the first edition. They do mention TV1, 25 minutes, 13 episodes, 25 minutes, 13 episodes, TV2. So they do mention the second season exists, but they don't really say it outright in like a sentence or something. You could admit, you blinking, you miss it type of thing, or just take it for granted. Spoil some anime without giving reason to. Tenchimuyo UI, the idea of the linking of these anime, they are often just saying the same handful of anime over and over again. Gundam, Evangelion, Ranma 1/2, blah 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 blah. Things people have heard of, which just kind of makes it very lopsided and not fully informative, in my opinion. Unbridled praise for some creators, but apathy to most others. This is a very big claim, but I really do want to go into this and be like, do they have anything positive to say about Tomino or Dazaki or I guess Satoshi Kon? Probably. I bet they do have praise for Kon. They probably have praise for Oshii. I don't know if they have praise for Otomo because they did say that he doesn't really have much to do with anime. Other things. Anno probably. They probably really like Anno maybe. I don't know. We'll see what they... Right now it's Tezuka Miyazaki. Those are the two big ones. That they just seem to have a complete unbridled praise for. Contempt for anime and anime fans. Big claim, but you really have to really paint the picture for it. Lots of focus on Western distribution rather than making of the anime itself. You know, again, have to have a good deal of evidence there. Contempt for slice of life, or to slice of life elements, like Barefoot Gen and Black Heaven and such. They mostly review anime that can be completed in a sitting, short OVAs and movies, rather than long TV anime. And that's based on like what opinions they're giving about various anime. Like, yeah, they have some reviews from shorter anime like Hanohana and another. Like, you can literally like when they give an opinion, clearly they've seen it. So these are the anime they've seen, right? And what do all these anime have in common? A lot of them are movies and OVAs, right? What's missing? A lot of long-running stuff. They do that a lot where they bring up... This is Roger's point. I'm going to credit Roger for this. They do a lot of work, where they bring up the actual creator and then proceed to compare it to anything but that creator's other work. I want to make sure it's about Bao in particular. Yeah. Now that we're at 2:34, it's kind of hard for me to... I do the 2-hour cap because it makes it easy for me to like, oh, goodbye. I don't want to spend forever on this. What's this, and why am I seeing Berserk related stuff? This is a... This is about the Anime Encyclopedia. This is a multi-stream series. I've done about 4 streams of this so far. The VODs are all on my channel. And it's going through the entire encyclopedia, not reading it on stream. There's a context video linked in the description of this live stream that I talk about my intent and the idea of this basically and what makes me interested in it. But yeah, Berserk related stuff is because we went over the Berserk entry, and they spoiled Berserk. Griffith Cask is a boy. Yeah, they spoiled it. They do spoil Berserk, and they make a lot of questionable choices, like spelling Griffith's name with an S at the end. This is the end written with a lot of bias. Yeah, bias is certainly the word too. Yeah, but at this point, I guess we could do an open read. But you know what? I should probably end this. I know it's really disappointing, but you know, I think the next stream there's gonna be less about, because I spent a half hour about the changes from the first to the third, but the stream after this, it's gonna be just about B through Blackjack in the 3rd edition, so covering just those. So it'll probably be a bit less in terms of, you know, interesting stuff or whatever. So we could probably do a lot more open reads at that point. But I think I'm gonna want to end it at this point. If anyone has any like last minute thoughts or, you know, perspectives and whatever, I'll be on stream a few more minutes. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it here, unfortunately. Yeah. These are always fun, right? It's just really interesting. Like, you can pull your hair out about these guys, but and just have complete contempt for them or whatever, and people do. But I don't know. It's interesting to inform your own perspective and reinforce what you believe. I've already regurgitated this. Don't want to repeat myself. I got blueberries. I shouldn't eat all of them. I'm gonna eat 3 at a time. Night, y'all. Thanks for the company and insights about anime. Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, I don't have a ticking clock at this time because we went over. You see the Devilman OVA entries say? I know people hated that before Crybaby. Yeah. Let's look it up. I'll do one open read. Devilman. Devilman, they have a big entry. Let me just read about the OVA since you're interested in that. Let me just skim through. In 1987, Devilman was revived for a 2-part video adventure directed by Tsutomu Ida, which altered much of the designs and origins while keeping a retro 1970s look. Altered much of the designs and origins? It was more faithful. It was more faithful than the fucking 72 anime. Huh? In the video, Akira is a shy boy who lives with his simpering childhood friend Maki, while his parents are away on a business trip. His tough friend Ryo, the hermaphrodite son of Satan, spoilers, tells him of the existence of demons, and that Earth was once occupied by this evil race. The only way to defeat a demon is to fuse with one, and Ryo convinces Akira to allow this to happen. Ryo slaughters human beings at a nightclub to summon a demon lucking into Amon, Lord of Darkness. Because Akira is pure of heart, he is able to control the demon within him, turning his evil powers to good use. The second episode, as in the original TV series, features a battle with Amon's former lover, Sirain, though no further episodes were made. Devilman's best moments are the flashback scenes of a prehistoric demon-infested Dreamtime that owed nothing to East or West, but it was the messy confluence of Japanese and European mythology that brought Devilman down. It was the messy confluence of Japanese and European mythology that brought Devilman down, not helped by the UK dubbers Manga Entertainment's inability to get some of the classical references right, though they did find the time to write new lines like, "I'm gonna rip off your head and shit down your neck," which is just great, actually. But they're criticizing the dub for being inaccurate to the historical references. New take. The same director would make the 3-part chibi character Go Nagai world featuring squashed down versions of several Nagai characters fighting at Armageddon. Akira Fudo also put it in a cameo appearance in Nagai's later Cutie Honey. Devilman Lady, that's all they say about it. Skimming. The epilogue to all the Devilman stories was written in 1973, only a year after the original manga, in Nagai's Violence Jack. Really? That's the epilogue? I thought Devilman was a complete story. You didn't have to read. I didn't think you have to read Violence Jack to get the epilogue for Devilman stories. Okay. Which begins with a remorseful Satan's decision to remake the world, to reincarnate as a cripple, and to create the Slum King to punish himself, though this relationship is not apparent in the 86 anime version. Okay. I guess not bad. Good stream. Thanks for the stream. Looking forward to the next one. Do you not know Devilman's based on a manga? They do! They say at the beginning. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. When a Japanese TV network wanted to adapt Gonagai's Devil King Dante in '72, the artist instead offered them his new Devilman project, already running in Shonen Magazine. So they're just kind of focusing on the TV show. Which is, like, fair. But, like, they didn't have that treatment for other titles. It's hard to articulate right now. Like Blackjack, for example, they make it out like Blackjack is such a seminal work by Osamu Tezuka, the manga, and then it finally got an anime. They have emphasis on the manga instead of the anime, obviously, because they're big Tezuka fans, so they know how important that is. But here it's just sort of like, yeah, they wanted an anime, so here. I guess that's accurate, perhaps, but it's just sort of a strange double standard to me personally. Final chapter is AU. Alright. Hey, sorry to keep you guys waiting. I'm sorry, some people probably already left. Anyway, I'm going to stop streaming, and you guys have a good time. You have to wait. It's so weird because I don't want to stop the stream. Or maybe I'll stop. Okay, I just hit stop streaming, and maybe the YouTube thing will go by itself. Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks for